This is the Battle for Dream Island lore timeline, which goes over events from 2010 all the way to 2025 or present day. Now, at first glance, most of you might be thinking that BFDI is not a very lore-driven or story-driven object show, but you'd be wrong. Over the course of the series, there's been a lot of key moments that have set up things for later seasons, and a lot of theories to be discussed. Without any further ado, sit back, relax, grab yourself a nice snack, and let's go over the Battle for Dream Island lore timeline. January 1st, 2010. We start off this series on New Year's Day of 2010, the beginning of a new decade, and with this new decade comes a brand new object show. This is Battle for Dream Island, the first ever object show to be created. And in the first ever episode, being BFDI 1A, Take the Plunge, we are introduced to a wide variety of different characters in the setting of Battle for Dream Island Season 1. In this first episode, we are also introduced to a wide variety of character relationships and friendships that will carry on throughout the rest of the series. These being both alliances, friend groups, duos, the whole thing. One of the most popular of these friendships/duos being Fiery and Leafy, but we'll get to them a lot later. Now, I want to preface this by saying that the first season of Battle for Dream Island is not very story-driven, so it won't take us a long time to get through this first season. But there are a lot of things that happen in BFDI Season 1 that set the stage for what we need to know moving forward. Mid to late 2010. We're nearing the last 10 to 5 episodes of Season 1. And Leafy is really starting to show her true colors. I'm going to get back to that a lot later, but during this time period in Season 1, we are really starting to see a lot of the characters' true personalities and how this competition is affecting them. Around this time, the announcer was killed and was replaced temporarily by Fiery Speakerbox and Flower Speakerbox. These two hosts would have an ongoing debate on who was the better host and who was doing better with overall hosting duties when it came to the contestants. Obviously, Fiery Speakerbox was favored more by the public and the contestants because of how kind-hearted he was. I cannot say the same for Flower's Speakerbox. Another huge debate that was going on around this time was the relationship between Leafy and Bubble and how it was starting to sour. These two would have a off-and-on relationship around this time, which would unfortunately carry on throughout the rest of the series, with them having a very strained relationship, to say the least. But as the first season of BFDI was coming to a close, specifically on the last episode of Season 1, something would happen between Leafy and Fiery. This is what I was talking about towards the beginning of the video. This event would shape the rest of the series, and if this wouldn't have happened, the entire series of Battle for Dream Island would have been altered by this one singular event. And I think you know what I'm talking about. 2012, specifically early 2012. It is early 2012. BFDI Season 1 is ending, and Fiery wins the season, while also winning Dream Island. He lets everyone on to Dream Island except for one person. That is Leafy. But he doesn't do this for no reason. See, the reason why he doesn't let Leafy on to Dream Island is because Leafy showed a great amount of discomfort in his Ferris wheel earlier on. This made Fiery think that Leafy is an ungrateful and bad friend, so he did not let her onto Dream Island. This would be a big mistake, is because Leafy, enraged about this news, would steal Dream Island. Somehow, I don't know how Leafy managed to steal an entire island, but whatever. She bought it from an announcer, and by the time Fiery actually got a good chance to look at the island, it was gone. Leafy had stole it and had fled the area. This is where BFDI Season 1 ends. But not the story of these characters. It's because this story of Leafy stealing Dream Island doesn't end with Season 1. No. In fact, it actually continues into the next season over, BFDIA. It's late June of 2012, and BFDIA, the second season of Battle for Dream Island, officially begins. And it opens with a chase scene, with most of the Season 1 contestants chasing after Leafy after she stole Dream Island. Eventually, though, Leafy ends up getting away from them, although attempts were made to try to capture her once they got at least a little bit close. As most of the early BFDIA episodes roll out, we get to see a lot of new contestants that will be integrated throughout the rest of the series. These new guys will become very important, I'm telling you. Now, unfortunately, a couple of the OG contestants do not end up making it into the second season, but that's not a problem. We get to enjoy these characters for a pretty good amount of time, even after BFDIA's hiatus, which we'll get to later. Although BFDIA was going relatively normal, like your typical BFDI or Battle for Dream Island season, things would change in BFDIA 5A. This would be the beginning of a multi-episode long saga where the contestants of Battle for Dream Island Season 2 are tasked to go to Yoil City, which is a long and grueling journey. While some contestants travel by air, others drive on vehicles, while some walk. Now, it is a very long journey, like I said before, and it takes them at least a couple weeks, if that, to get there. Once everyone reaches Yoil City, they're tasked to climb all the way to the summit of Yoil Mountain. Yes, that massive mountain you see in Yoil City. They have to climb not only to the top of the mountain, but all the way to the summit of this gigantic pole that sticks out of the top of the mountain. Eventually, two teams end up getting all the way to the top, Puffball's team being one of them. But unfortunately, Puffball, obsessed with winning the prize after getting put up for elimination, makes her entire team lose the challenge. In fact, it was actually proven that Puffball's team lost this challenge, obviously, and Puffball was eliminated due to this, since, well, she got the most votes and dislikes. It makes sense, though. I mean, Puffball made her entire team lose just to win some kind of prize. Obviously, fans of the series at the time did not like how Puffball deliberately made her team lose the challenge and decided to vote her out of the game. But they wouldn't see this resolution until much, much later. Unfortunately, after episode 5E, BFDIA would be cancelled, but not for long, as in 2023, specifically September, the season would make its return, with episode 6 being titled Well Rested, a fitting title for the long amount of time we haven't gotten a BFDIA episode until that point. We are back in 2013, and BFDIA continues after BFDIA 6. But, unfortunately, for most of these episodes, until BFDIA 13 and BFDIA 17, nothing really interesting happens. You see, BFDIA is more of a goofy and wacky season, kind of how it first was in the beginning. With the exception of obviously a few episodes, there isn't really a whole lot going on within this season, plot-wise. That's going to change when we get to seasons like BFB and TPOT, but as far as BFDIA goes, there's not really a whole lot to cover here, except for a few episodes like I mentioned before. So we're going to go ahead and go over those ones. It's 2014, and we are introduced to the sheer dilapidated state of Yoil City in BFDIA 13. We really get to see just how abandoned the city is, and how many buildings, gadgets, cars, and just everything. How much stuff is just left to rot as the contestants explore the city and mess around with some of the Yoil tech there. Gelatin even fixes up a couple buildings and revamps the character assets in the process. He ends up getting killed by Rocky's barf though, so that's not great. But I think this episode was absolutely amazing. The overall quality of it and how it does kind of add to the story. It really makes you speculate how or what even happened to the Yoil City citizens before the city was abandoned. We also get to see Leafy at the end of the episode, as Fiery recovers her using the Master Recovery Center. Unfortunately though, we don't see these two interact with each other in this episode, since Fiery runs away before Leafy can actually realize who recovered her. But I'm pretty sure she has a pretty good idea on who actually did it. We also get to see Evil Leafy be freed from tape, I guess, which probably isn't a good sign, honestly. BFDIA 17 is a absolutely insane episode, jam-packed with a lot of lore-heavy subjects, topics, locations, dates. In fact, this is only one of two parts that make up the quote-unquote BFDI movie, with the second part being TPOT 15. For those of you that are unaware, BFDIA 17 along with TPOT 15, are mostly time travel driven episodes, where the contestants or characters go to many different dates in time in the BFDI history. So it's going to be pretty hard to actually cover all the stuff that happens in this episode, but I'm going to give you guys the general lore of what is going on in this BFDI movie, is because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. The main centerpiece of both of these episodes is Yoyolite, which is used for time travel for the sake of these two episodes. Unfortunately though, in TPOT 15, the rejects get a hold of it, and they teleport themselves all throughout time over the past 15 years. Well, actually no, not 15 years. Technically, it would be 16 or 17 years if you include the comics from 2008 and 2009. But yeah, these guys get themselves lost all throughout time, and the contestants of TPOT are challenged to find all of them and bring them back to the present where they're supposed to be. It is a treacherous journey, and eventually, they do not complete this mission, as one team ends up getting stuck in the past, specifically BFDI 25, because of some stupid mistakes that happened around that time frame. One is also a big character in this episode, and almost causes the entire fabric of reality to break open, but Gady signs a deal with One, and everything goes back to normal. Kind of. Not necessarily. Now, since this is the most recent BFDIA episode, at least now, I don't know if that'll be the case when you're watching this video, we don't quite know what's going to come of this incident, but I'm pretty sure that it is going to be crazy whatever happens next in these future BFDIA and TPOT episodes. But that just about wraps up BFDIA. Now we have to move on to BFB. I know, for those of you that are wondering, why haven't we done IDFB yet? Well, IDFB only has one episode, so there's not really much to cover when it comes to IDFB. We might as well skip over it and move to BFB, specifically Pre Split, in the first episode, which was released in November of 2017. Let us move on to one of the greatest BFDI seasons, in my opinion, BFB. It is November 3rd, 2017, and we get a new Battle for Dream Island season. That is BFB. BFB Pre Split is one of my favorite BFDI seasons just because of how wacky it is, and how little sense it kind of makes at first. Well, when you first watch it. Then when you look deeper into the character relationships, then you start to understand a lot of the things that go on in BFB, not just in Pre Split, but in the entire season itself. And we're going to be going over that now. Like I said previously, it is November of 2017. The year is beginning to come to a close. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a new BFDI season. We are introduced to a wide variety of contestants in this season, over 60. Which does raise the question, at least at the time, how in the world will we finish this season? But we're not going to have to worry about that for now. That will come along a while later. Like I said, we are introduced to a lot more contestants. This is the biggest contestant number we have ever seen in Battle for Dream Island history. Literally, I'm not lying. This is the largest cast ever. Now, a lot of these contestants, in fact, I'm pretty sure all of them aren't very forgettable in this first version of the season. You know everyone's name, and you know what kind of character they are. It seems like they're all fighting for screen time. Now, a big part in the first episode is trying to get Teardrop to talk, which, as you may know, it doesn't end up working, unfortunately. In fact, Eggy is one of the only people that actually understand Teardrop during this moment of turmoil. Well, and actually, now that I think about it, not for long, as Eggy would misinterpret Teardrop's silence once again, but she would come back to talk to Teardrop later on in the episode, which is nice. Now, for the first couple of episodes of BFB, not a lot is going on. We are introduced to some new hosts, though, those people being 4 and X. These hosts aren't really like anything we've seen before. They're not objects, they're not speaker boxes. They're something called algebralians, which are numbers in the form of cartoon characters. I think they look pretty cool. They kind of scared me at first when I first saw them, and it seems like the BFB contestants felt the same way. Over time, they would eventually warm up to these two, although 4 does kill a number of them when we first meet him, but that's okay. In fact, actually, I want to make a correction. When we see these two in BFB, this is not the first time we've seen them on the Jack and Jellify channel. In fact, we've seen them before, many years before. In X Finds Out His Value, they appeared as the main centerpieces of that YouTube video, posted in the late 2000s, specifically 2009. Although BFB is the first time we do see them in a Battle for Dream Island episode, let alone as hosts, it is nice to see these characters again for those who have been longtime fans of the channel. Now, we can't talk about BFB's first episode without talking about the noticeable difference in Pencil and Mash's personality. They seem to be a lot more rude and mean-spirited, seeing how they eventually get Lightning to murder Spongy multiple times, and even threaten to demote Bubble after she tries to stand up for him. It's evident that in the next episode, Pencil is most likely going to be eliminated, which does end up happening. Some people said it would happen to Match, but Pencil was the main leader of this targeted bullying towards Spongy. Now, unfortunately, the Alliance would go out in a pretty sad way in BFB, but they would eventually make a comeback in TPOT. Well, not necessarily. It would more be like the individual members of the Alliance who would make a comeback, not the Alliance itself. But back to BFB. This is a pretty big thing that happens in this first episode, and it riles up fans of the series and season itself. A major part of the second episode of BFB is Leafy's niceness chart. This is when we start to see a different side of Leafy, a more kindness-obsessed side of Leafy, to the point where it gets kind of strange. This eventually leads to Leafy being eliminated very early on in the season, but we'll get to that a bit later. You see, in the episode, Taco is trapped inside one of the Jawbreakers, and is left in there by her team. This would cause a growing and extended conflict with the team throughout the next couple of episodes, and this actually lasts for a decent amount of time, like a really decent amount of time. Now it's time to go into opinion TG mode. You see, this annoyed a lot of people. This conflict between Taco and Book annoyed a lot of people, including myself at the time while watching. The main reason why I believe this is because Taco never really had a good chance to really explain her story to Book until very later, like a lot later on. And these two had a very strong rivalry because of this pretty small incident, honestly. And it was annoying just to know what happened with Taco and to know why she wasn't around for her team, but to see the other team members, the other members of her team, to not realize that. They're not aware of why Taco was absent in the third challenge, but we are. And we're forced to sit there and just see how they react to it in the exact wrong way. It's annoying, but I understand why it was done. And it's definitely not a mistake. So, yeah. In fact, this isn't just Taco's team. There is an ongoing rivalry between all of the teams and their members when it comes to control and power among the teams. This causes a lot of these contestants to go back and forth with each other and have some sort of rivalries, even. Mainly because of power differences and how unfair it could be to be certain members in certain teams. And I think it's a very interesting dynamic to add into the season. We see this with Taco's team, Golf Ball's team, you know what I mean, Ian's. It's a big thing, honestly, going on. And a lot of people, including myself, even overlooked this at the time. It only took me having to go back and watch BFB Pre Split to notice this. Is because it's interesting, honestly. It is a very interesting kind of subplot to what's going on in the main season, and seeing these contestants struggle with each other to find power and leadership in their teams it's nice. It's nice to see, honestly, and it gives you something to relate to when it comes to watching these characters go through certain things when it comes to the challenges and the overall episodes. Along with that, in early BFB, we do see 4 and X as kind of secondary characters. We don't really see a lot of their personalities until Post Split. Is because the main focus would obviously be the contestants, considering the sheer amount of them there are. There's a lot of these contestants, guys. I don't think you guys realize that. We're still in 2017 here, and this is the early days of BFB, 2017 and 2018. And we really see all of these contestants fight for screen time as the bad guys, I guess, are eliminated one by one. We see people like Pencil and Leafy getting eliminated because of pretty bad and unreasonable actions they have committed in previous episodes. We saw what happened to Pencil, guys. This is not a joke. And this was vote to eliminate, not vote to save. That didn't come out until TPOT. So these contestants were getting thousands upon thousands of votes because of the mistakes that they were making, because of how they were acting. And I think it was a good decision to kind of have 4 and X put their personalities aside until BFB Post Split, when there was a lesser contestant count and it gave everyone else kind of more screen time, which would be kind of a controversial decision, I guess, within the BFB sphere. Which we're going to get to that later on when we actually go over Post Split in the timeline. So let's move on to BFB 3, shall we? We've spent way too much time on this one episode. BFB 3, the infamous BFB episode where everything comes crashing down. Okay, you know what? That was a lie. That's BFB 16. BFB 3 is when everything comes crashing down for Taco. You see, this is the episode where Taco is, well, still trapped inside of a jawbreaker. Yeah, she's still trapped. Even during the challenge, while they're doing the little swing roundabout Ferris wheel thing, whatever it's called, I don't know. While they're doing this, like I said before, Taco is still trapped in the jawbreaker from the last episode. While Taco is trapped, the challenge ends, and her entire team believes that she abandoned them to go down and do something random. Now, like I said, her entire team thinks this. And we know that's not the case. Taco was just trapped, and unfortunately, she couldn't scream for help inside of the jawbreaker. No one could hear her. So, she would be trapped there for a long period of time, with her entire team believing that she just abandoned them, and to have them work on the challenge without her, and wandered around somewhere. Just kind of stupid. You didn't consider that she was in the jawbreaker right next to you? But, you know, it's alright. This episode really does annoy me, I'm going to be honest with you. It's because of the fact that they kind of just skipped over the theory that, I don't know, maybe Taco was inside of the jawbreaker. It was literally sitting next to you. I mean, at least attempt to remember the last challenge. Did you ever really free Taco? No, you didn't. So where else could she be? You think she just wandered off for no reason? What else would she do? It's an empty field with a couple scattered trees. You think she walked all the way to Yoyo City or something? No shot. So, yeah, eventually Taco does get freed from the jawbreaker. Duh. But this causes a very long rivalry between Taco and her team. Mainly Book, as Book is incredibly hurt by this. Which, like I said, it did make me pretty mad just to know that Book was choosing to believe that Taco abandoned her team for so long. Like, she thought this for a really long time. Way after the other team, way after the rest of the team had already kind of let that theory die down, Book was still holding on to that. And boy, did it annoy it annoyed the heck out of me. And I can tell it annoyed the heck out of everyone else watching BFB at the time as well. BFB 4, an episode all about 4. Duh! Anyway, BFB 4 is an episode that is all about the main host of BFB, 4 himself. The challenge is to make some kind of fan gift for 4, and he judges it. This episode is kind of more of a goofy and wacky episode. Nothing really story or plot heavy happens here, except for the whole 8-ball and golf ball rivalry when it comes to leadership. Yeah, golf ball's team wasn't safe from this curse either, and 8-ball, I'm pretty sure he was just trolling honestly, takes over the team, at least brainwashes them into thinking that he is a better leader than golf ball, as he seems a bit more laid back and goofy than golf ball is. And I can agree. But I'm sure that 8-ball was mainly just joking around to get under golf ball's skin. So, yeah, not a lot happens this episode, just a lot of messing around and your usual contestant antics. So let's move on to BFB 5. It's because this episode, boy, this is interesting. BFB 5 is another relatively wacky and goofy episode of BFB Pre Split, except for one aspect: the elimination of Lai, which was a highly controversial elimination, mainly because of how underrated and good of a character Lai was and was perceived as by many BFB fans. You see, it might have been because of Lai's past that a lot of people decided to vote her out. But this was something that I really do want to talk about, as Lai would actually end up receiving what's kind of deemed as a redemption arc in TPOT. But for now, though, Lai would be forced to be eliminated for a very long time. BFB ended in 2021. BFB 5, on the other hand, would come out in January of 2018, meaning that Lai would be, at the very least, eliminated for a total of 3 years, at the very least, which is a long time to be stuck in confinement. A very long time. Obviously, they didn't starve to death or anything like that, but it's considerable to be eliminated, to be trapped. It's nothing like the TLC, but it is pretty bad. Being trapped in a 3D classroom for that long, it's almost half a decade. So, yeah, you can only imagine how badly Lai and the other eliminated contestants wanted to escape. Didn't even get to rejoin. Leafy rejoined, which I thought was pretty strange. But besides the elimination of Lai, there isn't a whole lot going on in BFB 5. It's similar to BFB 4, a relatively wacky episode with maybe one major thing that was going on with it that is relevant to the plot. Now, this is the case for most of the BFB pre-split episodes, but there are a few of them where the story of the characters and what they're going through is a main point in the episode. You see, BFB 6 is a very interesting episode, and we're going to go over that right now. It's February 2018, and BFB 6 is released, titled BFB 6, 4 Goes Too Far. Towards the beginning half of this episode, 4 spazzes out and kills a bunch of contestants, and the remaining ones decide to rally up against 4 and try to multiply him by 0, aka Donuts. It does eventually work, and 4 is, well, no more, being extracted into nothing but a puddle of sludge that is used by Donut to give him some of 4's factors, or the factor of 4, which he uses for the next challenge, to create the Twinkle of Contagion, which is the next challenge. Basically, don't look at someone who's glowing, and you should be fine. Whichever team, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't remember the end of the challenge. The main thing that happens in this episode is Taco. Again! You see, Taco and Book, and most of the rest of her team as well, is still feuding over what happened in BFB 3. It seems like they were very well affected by Taco's disappearance, which is strange, is because you'd think they'd move on from that, but they did not. And it wasn't just Taco's team. All the other teams were having their fair share at struggling with this challenge. A lot. Eventually, Clock/Loser's team would lose the challenge. Very fitting. And, Clock would be cooked. Well, would he? We'll get to that a bit later. You see, Taco and her feud with her team still annoys me. Even when I think about it, is because of how petty they were being when it came to treating Taco. Seriously, dude, I still cannot get over that to this day. BFB 7 begins, and unfortunately, Golf Ball's team is still stuck in space. It's still February of 2018, and a lot is going on, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. One of the most loved contestants, at the time at least, was Loser in BFB, but he would be eliminated in this episode for not carefully providing for his team. It was evident that Loser's ego was starting to get to his head a bit, and he would be eliminated. I think if it was a contestant vote as well, he would probably also be. Now, not a whole lot of stuff really happened in this episode. It was kind of more of a throwaway episode, similar to BFB 5 and 4 before it. But it's not to say that this episode wasn't noteworthy as well, mainly for the elimination of Loser though. Seeing these contestants, at least in my opinion, going through turmoil when it comes to their friend groups and teams overall is very interesting, honestly, and it's entertaining to see. You see, it's not the overarching plot that is the big thing in BFB, it's how the contestants interact with each other. Their struggles, strives, all of that stuff. It's entertaining to watch. And this is the case for all of the BFB Pre Split episodes. And for some, even the BFB Post Split episodes. And it's nice to go back and watch these older episodes of BFB to get some kind of nostalgia from watching them. Seeing the characters mess around, have little dramas when it comes to their teams. It's nice and refreshing to see every now and then. The main focus of BFB 8 is the Alliance team, specifically Bubble and Match. You see, BFB 8 is a quiz challenge episode, and Bubble gets most of, if not all of the questions wrong. And Match is very upset by that. She even ends up demoting Bubble. Not once, but twice. This depletes Bubble's self-esteem a lot, and it makes her question how good of people her alliance really are. It makes her question the people around her, specifically her former friends. After the elimination of Pencil, she was stuck with Match. She was probably not the happiest that her best friend got eliminated. This would continue onward for a long amount of time, until Match would eventually be eliminated. You see, the alliance was never truly the same after BFB 1. Well, at least not the same. It hasn't really been the same. The alliance didn't really come together fully, and who knows if it ever will, honestly. Even in current times now, with TPOT 15, the alliance is still disbanded. It's like after BFB and after Pencil got eliminated, things just weren't the same as what they used to be back in the day. Who knows if things will be better? I mean, even during BFDIA, Bubble was trapped in the locker of losers with everyone else. Honestly, it's sad to see a once flourishing friend group fall to nothingness, to be disbanded for years, like literal years. Max got eliminated in the early days of BFB, back in the late 2010s. So, yeah, I guess it is what it is. The main event going on in BFB 9 is X is officially back to hosting. Yeah, that's basically it. You see, X, while most people thought he went away along with 4 when they multiplied 4 by 0, that didn't happen. X just ran away because he was scared. And he is now back, leaving the hosting duties to at least the co-host. Donut can finally relax as a contestant now. So, I guess that's good. You see, BFB 9 is kind of like your typical BFB challenge episode. It involves baskets again because, well, why not? And not a lot really happens here. You see, it's kind of what I like about BFB Pre Split. There are some episodes where there's an overarching story going on with the characters, but then there's other episodes that are just more laid back, that you can enjoy when you're just trying to watch something fun. There's not a whole lot of stuff really going on, and we get to see a lot more of X's character in the early BFB episodes, which I like to see. And I hope we honestly do get to see a lot more of that as time goes on and we see 4 and X more. Heck, we might even see them in the newest Teapot episode. Who knows, man? In BFB 10, 4 makes his return. It was actually a rejoin. Yep, this is the rejoin where Leafy ends up rejoining the contest, which kind of confused me at the time since there wasn't really much of a reason for Leafy to come back, but it's whatever. But yes, 4 has returned, and he has returned with an iron fist. He's still the same as he was when he left, but it's nice to see the main guy back, right? You see, BFB 10 begins with Cloudy and X having a heartfelt conversation about how Balloony had passed away and how it affected them winning the challenge. You see, unfortunately, there is a lot of moments that happen in BFB that kind of tie together to more tragic events. You see, these characters, they do go through stuff. Even though there is recovery, you know what I mean? It is still sad to see your friend die. And in fact, Balloony died at a time where 4 wasn't around. And it seemed as if 4 was the only one who could really recover people from the dead. So they were screwed for a while. It's May 2018 and BFB 11 is released. There's a lot of interesting things that happen in this episode. I'm going to be honest with you. There's the official rejoin of Leafy. You see, the last episode announced the rejoin. This is the actual rejoin, and Leafy ends up rejoining the game. We get to see Max and Bubble have a heartfelt conversation where Bubble chooses to not forgive Max for her rudeness in previous episodes. Flower also dominates this challenge easily, so that's really cool. BFB 11 has a lot of good things going on in it. It might not be the most story-driven episode of BFB, but it definitely is a really cool one, just in general, honestly. And it's going to be nice to see the next couple of BFB episodes and how they will directly affect the story. It's because, trust me, you're going to see plenty of that with future episodes of not only BFB, but also Teapot. Yeah, people, we got a long way to go. Like, a long way to go. Seriously. BFB 12 is a very interesting episode in BFB Pre Split. It tests the ability of a lot of these contestants and their trust. It really does. It really does test their trust with a lot of their teammates. And it's kind of nice to see, honestly, how smart these contestants really are. In fact, Max actually gets eliminated in this episode. Remember when I said Max would get eliminated later on? Well, yeah, this is it. And, this is when things just really go downhill for the Alliance. The two leaders are both eliminated, and Bubble's one of the last ones standing. Eventually, Bubble gets eliminated in Post Split, but we'll get to that later. Honestly, in short, BFB Pre Split is a absolutely insane season. And I want to get to know what other people think about it, which segues into an interview that I recorded with Park Films and asked him a lot of questions about BFB and BFDI in general. These interviews will be scattered throughout the rest of the video to kind of give you an idea on what people think of BFB as a season and BFDI as a series. So let us go ahead and segue into. What is going on, everyone? It is TG here with an interview with Dino Dude. I apologize for my audio quality. It might be pretty bad because I don't have my microphone plugged in right now. But yeah, Dino Dude, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Dino Dude, known on YouTube as Park Films. I am currently preparing to make videos on the channel, but there's nothing on there yet. Within the OSC, I have worked on shows such as Not Another Object Show, Battle for Question Mark, and others.
Alright, nice. So, Dino Dude, a part of this interview, I'm going to be asking you some questions about in your general opinions on certain subjects regarding BFB Pre Split and Post Split. Is that okay with you?
That sounds great.
Alright, so the first question of the day, it's a pretty broad question.
What is your overall opinion on pre-split BFB? So that's everything before BFB 16 and everything after AFB 1.
My opinion on pre-split. Now, my history with pre-split is that back in 2017, when I was very little, I was watching BFDI, and I vaguely remember the episodes coming out and not really liking them. In fact, I think it's what made me stop watching it back in, it must have been 2018 or something like that. And then it was when I got back into the OSC in 2024 that I went back and rewatched Pre-Split. What I will say is that I do greatly appreciate. I can understand why a lot of people like it. I can understand the people who say that it was the creative pinnacle of BFDI. I never felt too strongly toward it. I don't hate it. I certainly don't think it's bad. It just isn't really. It doesn't excite me that much, I guess you could say.
All right. All right. Well, nice. I would say when it comes to BFB pre-split, um, it's widely regarded, like you said, like the creative pinnacle of BFDI, and a lot of people like it because of like the goofy and silly nature of it, and how like all the characters kind of feel like they're fighting for screen time and they're just messing around. But it's definitely not for
Hmm.
everyone. I would say like, when it first came out, I wasn't really a huge fan of it either. I kind of warmed up to it later on, but I can definitely understand where you're coming from with that. Um, but yeah. So, with pre-split out of the way, what are your thoughts on BFB Post Split, which is BFB 17 to BFB 30? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so post split is interesting. Post split to me was kind of dealt a bad hand. I agree with the people who say that it's the worst of the FDI. I think that through process of elimination, I would consider post split to be the worst, shall we say, season of the FDI. I think, and so the reason I say it was dealt a bad hand is because when it was made during the COVID pandemic and the rise of TikTok. And so it was subjugated to a lot of what a lot of other fandoms were experiencing during the lockdowns, which was, in my opinion, or from my perception, an increase in toxicity, or at least an increase in the vocalization of toxicity. And I think that hurt BFDI's reputation just a little bit. As for post split itself, I think it's okay. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's kind of charming. But yeah, like I said, through process of elimination, it's the worst part of BFDI.
All right. Okay. So, what would you say is your favorite BFDI season?
My favorite BFDI season, and this is going to be weird, but I really like IDFB simply because of what it could be, what it might end up being. There's so many unknown possibilities with it, and that excites me. And so, if that ever gets picked up again, or if it is ever continued, which I feel like it most likely will, I'm very, very interested to see where that goes, especially with the resources and the manpower that Jack and Jelly have now compared to 2016.
Yeah. So, what would you say is like an underrated BFDI season?
I would say IDFB. Like, I've heard people say it's the forgotten season, and I disagree with that because I don't think people forget that. I think people know it exists. I think people don't care about it. And I understand why. It's just one episode. And although it's interesting, it isn't really groundbreaking in any way. So I would personally say that IDFB is underrated.
All right. What would you say is like an overrated BFDI season?
Overrated?
Yeah.
Well, I would have to say pre-split, but I don't. I think pre-split is overrated Not because I hate it, not because I think it's bad, but just because I don't see what other people see in it, I guess. I don't really like, to me, I watch it and I don't really click with it the way I think some other people do.
Alright, nice. Okay. So, I guess one of my last questions is, would you say there's an object show that can come close to BFDI in terms of its charm? Or like
That is
repeatability?
very interesting. So, what do you mean by charm?
So, I guess when I say charm, it's mainly because of like that's kind of why a lot of people like BFDI. I guess it's because of like the wacky and goofy nature of it. Everyone said kind of said that at first. I guess it's not really that much of the case now since it's sort of grown from one series to one with Teapot. But like in terms of likability, I guess is like a better term. Do you think there's an object show that can come close to that?
Well, if we're talking about purely about likability and like overarching praise, I think Animatic Battle has done what Pre Split is doing and built on top of that to basically make Pre Split but better. So as far as like appreciation and likability, I would say Animatic Battle does that. When it comes to the very unique um, tone and humor and nature of those first two seasons of BFDI, which I assume is what you were trying to get at, I'm not sure if that can be replicated. I think that it was made when the Hornlings were 13, 14, 15 years old. It was made at a very unique time in their life, and they have grown and changed so much that I think even if they tried, they wouldn't be able to perfectly capture what was there back in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. You get it.
Yeah.
As for, and I think, I don't know if it's possible for someone else to replicate that. I think you can try, but it's just not going to be again what those first two seasons were. That it really was like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. I see what you mean. It's like, you know, I guess when it comes to like maybe something like the OG BFB Post Split or something like that, you can kind of come close to that with something like Animatic Battle. But I think
Mm-hmm.
overall BFDI and like just what it, I guess what it was like back in like the golden days of it, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if you can quite replicate it, you know, or like be
Mm-hmm.
equivalent. I don't know. You know what I mean? Now, the last
Mm-hmm.
question that I have is what would you say is the best part of everything out of the series to you of the new day?
The best part of the entire series. That is a hard question. I would say that the best part of the entire series has to be the shift event. And that might be recency bias, but the shift, like that two-parter, was just phenomenal. And it tip its hat to so many different eras and iterations of BFDI over the years, and I think it paid tribute to the entire series so well that as a BFDI fan, I think that it's just absolutely phenomenal. So overarchingly, and again, this might be recency bias. I'd have to go back and like see if there's anything that even comes close, but I feel moderately confident in saying that it's got to be the shift event.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thank you, Daniel Dude. Park Films, thank you for coming on to this interview and speaking to me about some of these BFDI topics. I really do appreciate it.
Of course, it's good to be here.
All right, everyone, we're going to end off this interview, and yeah.
It is BFB 13. BFB 13 is one of my favorite BFB episodes, mainly because it introduces the multi challenge or multi episode long saga where the contestants are mainly underground looking for some jewels. Now, I really do like this episode because of that challenge, and that kind of makes me like all of the other episodes leading up to episode 16, is because that is one of my favorite challenges in BFB. And throughout this challenge, we really do get to see a lot of these contestants like really interact with each other, have a lot of real conversations, go through a lot of turmoil, having to navigate underground and escape a bunch of lava. It's crazy. Mind you, keep in mind at least, it is 2019, specifically June of 2019. So it's been a year since we last checked in on the timeline. So yeah, BFDI has been going on for 9 years now at this point in the timeline. Keep that in mind. That is insane. And honestly, it's been about 10 years if you include the comics, which we'll actually touch on that a bit later. But in BFB 13, there isn't a whole lot going on plot-wise, and this is going to remain the case for the next couple of episodes leading up to episode 16. Following that, in BFB Post Split, we're going to be talking a lot more about the real plot and storyline of BFDI that kind of connects everything. So, yeah. It's August of 2019, and BFB 14 is released. We are nearing the end of Pre-Split, and moving towards both the new decade and the new version of BFB. Get ready, is because it's going to get wild very soon. BFB 14 is very similar to BFB 13. The challenge is the exact same, and it's more of a continuation of what we saw last episode. Honestly, I think this episode is equally as fun. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. There's a little bit of a debacle with Spongy, though, because Spongy does not let any of his fellow comrades ride on his jet to the surface. Yes, they're still underground. This causes a lot of friction, but we'll get into that a bit later. Now, Iance's team is being chased by lava as well in this episode, which is insane. And also, not to mention that in this episode, the ground gets completely decimated by lava, which directly affects everything. In fact, this changes the grass of Teapot to yellow. Is because obviously the BFB grass used to be green, and Teapot takes place in what was the BFB Post Split area. After the grass is completely decimated in this episode, it is just insane, honestly. And something that actually is relevant to the plot is that Taco and Book try to talk things out, but it is interrupted multiple times by Four and his weird noises when there's arms sticking out of his mouth, with the eliminated contestants trying to escape from him, which is very interesting. But yeah, that's basically all for BFB 14, at least plot-wise and stuff that you need to know. Okay, correction, my bad. That whole thing with Book and Taco actually happens in BFB 15, not 14, so that is my bad. That is a mistake on my end. Now, with BFB 15, there's a lot of character conflict that goes on. The Book and Taco thing that I just mentioned, along with Leafy and Fiery. Like I said, there's a lot going on in this episode when it comes to the characters and their relationships and conflicts. The eliminated contestants are trying desperately to escape, but they don't end up getting any success until the next episode. Four calls out the challenge, and everyone hears it, and the challenge is to make it back to him and escape all the lava going on. Now, the teams all across the area try to, or at least try their best to escape, which honestly makes for a very fun challenge. The current date of this episode is December 14th, 2019. We are closing out on the decade and moving into the new decade. Boy, no one knew what was going to happen next, honestly. Anyway, that's basically all for BFB 15. Now, let us move on to the episode that will change everything, that being BFB 16. It is officially a new decade and a new era in BFDI history. This episode marks the end of BFB Pre Split and the beginning of BFB Post Split. You see, for the rest of 2020, we don't get a TPOT episode, but don't worry, the next year we will be getting one. Now back to the episode. A lot of crazy stuff happens in this episode. A bunch of the eliminated contestants end up escaping. Well, they escape the exit, momentarily. Yeah, only a select few of them actually managed to escape for himself, while the others weren't as lucky and got sent right back to the exit for another year. Scratch that, another couple of years. Yeah. Anyway, the challenge was a continuation of the last one, which was to get back to 4. But in the middle of the challenge, there was a new guy who showed up in the series. That guy was 2. Yep, we just got introduced to the new host of the next season of Battle for Dream Island, TPOT, aka the Power of 2. Now, this is when a lot of people say BFB goes officially downhill. And I gotta say, this might just be the case for real, guys. But another cool thing that happens in this episode is that Loser breaks out, which is nice. Unfortunately, Book and Taco decide to part their ways and go to different seasons, which kind of sucks, is because I would love to see these two interact with each other post-beef, you know what I mean? But, it's alright. I guess we'll just have to see it in the future, if that even happens, honestly. But now that BFB 16 is out the way, it's time to move on to the next thing in the timeline. The most hated BFDI season, like literally the most hated BFDI season, BFB Post Split. Here we go. It is April of 2020 and BFB is back, but not as good as people would expect it to be. You see, BFB Post Split is widely regarded as the most hated BFDI season ever. And the main reason is because of both the writing and the animation. People regard this as the worst season because of those two aspects. The animation because it was very inconsistent, and the writing is because it just kind of fell all over the place and didn't really match up with what Pre-Split was doing. A lot of people felt like Post-Split was a massive downgrade in every single way from BFB Pre-Split. I'm not going to say my own personal opinion on Post-Split just yet. I'll save that towards the end of this section. But it's not looking too good for this season. In fact, in the interview segment that we're going to have later on in this chapter, you're going to see exactly how other people feel about BFB Post Split. But let's get back to episode 17. BFB 17 is most of a throwaway episode. Basically, it's meant to introduce the world of the Pillory Ruins and just kind of bring you back to, just getting to know the characters, I guess. Nothing really plot heavy happens in this episode in particular. Like I said, it's meant to introduce the new setting and kind of, just get the characters back where they need to be. So, we're not going to talk too much about episode 17. Let's move on to episode 18. BFB 18, like most of the other BFB post-split episodes, is mainly focused on the characters' downtime, what just happened, and just discussing things in general among the contestants. It adapts a lot more of a slower pacing in BFB Post Split with the rest of these episodes, and that might be the reason that a lot of people actually disliked BFB Post Split, which was in contrast of BFB Pre Split's fast pacing and quick moving, tone. The episodes would keep going and going and going, and that's why a lot of people liked BFB Pre Split. But in BFB Post Split, it was the exact opposite. It felt like everything was dragging and dragging. Kind of like how Crystal Critique said in his videos on BFB Post Split. It was evident that popular opinion was not really for this season. meaning that when TPOT would roll around, a lot more people would warm up to BFDI, just being glad that Post Split ended. But we still have a lot more episodes to cover when it comes to BFB Post Split. So let's move on to BFB 19. Editor TG here to get a feel for really how much people did dislike BFB Post Split. Here's a clip from a review of BFB 18.
Also, Ruby, what the hell did they do with Ruby? I already didn't like her, but every single line she says legitimately makes me want to pull my hair out. That one scene where she sang in the band with Leafy, even though they were just driving in circles, was the most annoyed I had ever felt watching a cartoon. Not just limited.
This man said that a scene from Battle for Dream Island, specifically BFB Post Split, with Ruby and Leafy singing in the back of the Free Smart Super Van, was the most annoyed he has ever felt watching a cartoon, not just limited to object shows. From BFB. Wow. Like, dude, that just goes to show. Like, this was probably the most disliked BFDI season. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to be 100% probably the most disliked. I'm going to be honest. Seriously. Like, legit. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. There's not a lot of lore going on in BFB Post Split. Like, barely any. So, we're going to skip a decent amount of episodes to episode 30. The main reason why I say this is because BFB Post Split focuses more on the characters and them interacting with each other throughout this portion of the season, rather than the actual storyline or plot that BFDI has. And BFB 30 is one of the only BFB Post Split episodes that really has a set kind of storyline and plot to it that can add to the BFDI timeline. So we're going to skip a decent amount of time to 2021 when BFB 30 is released, the finale and the end of BFB as a season. But before we get to the end of BFB, I do want to add the interview that I had with Crunch Does Stuff on his thoughts on BFB Post Split, Pre Split, and BFDI in general. I'm going to play that now.
Welcome everybody to the second episode of today's video. Today we have Mr. Crunch himself. How you doing, man?
Hello. I'm good. Yeah, hi guys. I'm Crunch Does Stuff. Also previously known as Object Alien.
Alright. So I'm gonna ask you some questions today about BFB. Yeah.
Okay.
So the first question I got for you is, what is your thoughts, or what are your thoughts on BFB Post Split?
You know, I feel like a lot of people probably know this about me, but I'm not a big fan of it. I've made that very clear through a lot of videos of mine that I hate it. I mean, I don't hate it. I've grown to be indifferent to it because I feel like it was overhated at the time because it was new. Now people are starting to realize it's like, you know, it's not like the worst thing to come out of the franchise, but it's sure up there. It's sure up there.
Alright. You know, the last person I actually interviewed on Park Films, he actually said he's not too much of a fan of Pre Split either. So,
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the continuation is, what are your thoughts on Post Split BFB?
Oh, I thought you said Post Split. I thought you said, when you said Pre Split, I thought you said Post Split.
Oh yeah, no, my bad. I meant to say Pre Split. What are your thoughts on Pre Split?
Pre Split. It's okay. I grew up with it as a kid. I was there when the first episode of BFB came out, and I liked it a lot. I think it was silly. I liked the vibe of it a lot. I feel like Post Split was trying really hard to capture what Pre Split was, and that was its fault because Pre Split was so uneffortlessly ridiculous, and that's what made it great, in my opinion.
So the next question that I do have for you is, what would you say is the worst BFDI season?
Worst BFDI season, probably, you know, I'm probably going to give it to Post Split, honestly. Like I said earlier that I don't think it's the worst thing out of the franchise. I actually immediately disagree with that because I genuinely do think it's the lamest thing because it's not great. It's not great. I think Post Split. I think Post Split.
I think general opinion kind of does agree that Post Split is probably the weakest
Mhm.
The next question that I have is, what is your favorite season out of the BFDI series?
Dude, BFDIA pre-hiatus, dude. That shit. I mean, that stuff is absolutely like awesome. Like I loved everything before the hiatus. The hiatus when it came back, like when it came back like 10 years later, it was okay. It was all right. But before that, it was so good. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah. I actually agree. I think BFDIA pre hiatus. I prefer it more than after the hiatus. But yeah. So the next question that I do have is, what do you like in your opinion? What is the best part of BFDI as a series? What would you say like the best part of it overall?
The best quality of the series. Probably, you know what? Probably how little it takes itself seriously. I feel like a lot of object shows nowadays. Like I like object shows that have a little bit of have like stakes to them, but I feel like a lot of object shows don't realize the fact that they're an object show and try to tackle stuff that's way too serious. I like those shows that just acknowledge the fact that it's kind of dumb and like roll with it, and that's what like BFDI the franchise does very good. Is they acknowledge the fact that this is stupid. Let's roll with it and be as stupid as we can. I really like that. I really like how funny and ridiculous it can be. I think that's my favorite part of it.
Alright. Okay. So, what would you say is a flaw of BFDI?
Ooh, it's kind of a double-edged sword with what I just said, because another thing that they do is that they kind of take it too far. How they don't take themselves seriously enough. Like Post Split represented that issue very well, where they just didn't didn't try with the characters at all. They didn't try with anything at all. The only thing they were really focusing on was being ridiculous. Like the thing with BFTI was that they were able to balance being ridiculous but also having you be like attached to the characters. But Post Split just was straight up like, let's just be as stupid as we can and be funny, and that's it. And that's all they worried about. A big problem with BFDI is the fact that sometimes they just forget what they are and try to mock what they previously had, which is what they do a lot.
Alright. Now, actually, I was going to ask this to the last person I interviewed, but I kind of forgot to say it. So, what I wanted to ask you is, what would you say that BFDI has lore to it? And explain why or why not?
I feel like it tries to have lore to it. Like BFDIA tried to introduce a lot of stuff that was hinted towards, like that weird bossy bot sequence at some point. Like I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but that weird bossy bot sequence where like it's like a flashback or something that Golfa has. I don't know. It seems like a lot of times they're trying to set up stuff like lore and stuff that they just don't really build upon. And the times that they do, like in that one two-parter from BFDIA and TPOT that they did, I really like that because they were actually trying to build upon the lore of the series. But a lot of the time, they also try to establish stuff that they just don't build off of. So I feel like it's a yes and a no. A yes and a no. They have lore, but they also sometimes are terrible at it, and they sometimes don't have it.
Alright. So, with BFB, so when it comes to BFB Pre Split, which is a highly praised BFDI season, what would you say is the most annoying part of it, or something that annoyed you like throughout the course of Pre Split?
Oof. I don't remember a lot of pre-split because I'm gonna be honest, I have not been in the OSC in a long time, but I think pre-split, one of the things that did annoy me was sometimes it does like it has like sprinkles of like the attitude that post-split had throughout. Like a lot of the times it gets very like non-grounded, and it kind of just gets so ridiculous to the point that it's hard to follow. Sometimes it gets kind of like too stupid, and I feel like it does a lot of that. A big problem that pre-split had was that probably that it gets too stupid sometimes.
Alright. Okay. So, what would you say? So, if you were to guess when Battle for Dream Island as a series would come to a close, when do you think that would happen? How many seasons do you think would have that
I'm thinking there's gonna be one more left. I think after Teapot, that's gonna be it. I think there's gonna be not after Teapot. I think there's gonna be one more season after Teapot, and then that's it. It's done. I mean, it should be, right? Like, I don't think it should be going on forever, in my opinion. It's just gonna get worse. If it keeps on going forever, it's just gonna get worse. I feel like ending it at what season are we on? Like season 5? Ending it at season 6 would be good. I think ending it at season 6 would be great, in my opinion. True, actually. I think IDFB would be great, actually, yeah.
So, when it comes to the BFB, what would you say is the best image of the BFDI community?
Oh, I love this question. I think the best part of the BFDI community is how engaging it is for young audiences to really learn how to do stuff like animate and do art, because it really inspired a lot of people to really get into that medium where they just do art, make animation, because it's so easy, but such a good start for like kids to really be engaged with that type of hobby, and I really like that. Like, it really, like, it helps people learn how to do art and learn how to animate because of how easy it is to like make object shows or make those like animation memes or make like art. And it's a great start, but I feel like a big problem on top of that with the object show community is how some people get stuck in that, and some people, like, I mean, you can do what you want with your life. It's your life. But in my opinion, some people really get stuck in the OSC, which is a big problem, where they just, like, they don't try anything more. They don't try anything new. Like, you're like a 19 years old, you're like 20 years old, and you're still doing the same old stuff you did when you were like 13. Sometimes you just got to move on and try to do something a little bit more. You still like object shows, but sometimes people just feel like the only thing they can do is do object show stuff, and it's not. It's honestly not. Object shows are a great way to start your journey, but you should not rely on it forever. Sometimes people just gotta evolve, try something new, move on, and not just rely on doing object show stuff for the rest of their life. Like, that's probably it.
What would you say, is like the best time to leave the object show community, if you've been in it for a while?
Honestly, the best time to leave, probably like when you're ready. Honestly, like, if you find yourself feeling restricted by this type of like environment, like the object show community, then just leave. Some people don't recognize that. Some people are just like, but if I do leave, it's too risky. I'll lose all my viewers. I'll blah blah blah, all this, all that. And it's just like, maybe, but if you really are feeling restricted by this type of content, the best thing you can do is take the leap of faith and just try something new. And, like, not saying that doing object shows at an older age, like 19, is a bad thing, because you can still like object shows, but just don't only do object shows. Don't rely on that. I think a great age to finally start trying new stuff is like 16, 17, 18, 19. Anything past that is just like, man, you just got to start trying new things, in my opinion. Just like start venturing out and doing new stuff with that talent that you got from object shows.
Yeah. I'm working on an object show, and once it's over, I'll probably make it. Probably start doing skits and other stuff like that.
Yep.
I am curious, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I am curious to what the OSC will be like after BFDI ends. It's because I'm sure when BFDI ends, the OSC will end. And I'm curious to what it will be like once BFDI is over. What do you think?
I think, I don't even know what it's like now, honestly. I have not been engaged with it in a long time, but I know that, I feel like if BFDI does end, and this is on the if, they're probably going to keep on trucking, honestly. They're not slowing down at all, but if it does end, I feel like I feel like it'll be virtually the same. There's a lot of communities with shows that have ended years ago that are still thriving, and I feel like the OSC will be the same way. It's too many people rely on that stuff to just ditch it the second it ends. I think it's gonna keep on. I think it's gonna die out at some point after it ends. Like maybe like 2 years after it ends, it'll just slowly start to die out. People slowly like stop caring, get into more stuff. But it'll always like there'll always be a bit of like the community like in them. But I feel like people are just gonna start to move on.
Yeah. You know, I think people like Block's channel make a lot of business after BFDI.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a lot of YouTube channels definitely are gonna start to run out of ideas as it ends.
Which is also, I think if you're going to be an OSC YouTuber, I wouldn't suggest putting OSC in your name. The reason why I say this is because you might not always want to be in the OSC or want to be associated with it. So, I don't know, I just think like having that in your channel name might not be the best idea. Or like BFDI, like something BFDI is because BFDI might end one day. You might not want to do BFDI anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Don't market yourself around that sort of stuff because if it does end, you're gonna be cooked if you try something new. I mean, you could always change the name, but still, like you already like you've committed yourself to so much to it. Like it's gonna be hard to do that jump to different things, but it could happen. It could work.
Animation objects and like that. I love his content, but like you know, like you don't like you know, I want it to just be object shows. You know what I mean? It might not be like what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
thank you, man, for coming on this interview. I really appreciate it. Anything you got to
Yeah,
say?
no problem, man. What?
Is there anything you want to say before the interview ends?
Um. No, there isn't. There's nothing I want to say.
All right. Well, see you later, man.
See you later, man.
It's 2021. The announcer makes his return to the series after being gone for God knows how long. He's trying to end BFDI as a series or as a show. He is unsuccessful in doing so and eventually has a change of heart towards 4, which leads us into BFB 30. BFB 30 goes over the story of 4 and how he even found out about BFB in the first place, and how he was able to manage to host a season that lasted 4 whole years. Well, almost 4 years. And honestly, BFB 30 was a great end to BFB, in my opinion. It was one of my favorite episodes from Post Split, not because it was ending off this season, but just because of the sheer quality and charm that the episode had. It went over the story of one of the most interesting hosts in Battle for Dream Island. Now, I don't know if TPOT 30 or whenever TPOT ends will have a story about 2, who knows. But in reality, BFB 30 is an episode that I think we can all enjoy or find something to enjoy in. BFB Post Split might not have been the best BFDI season. It might have even been the worst. But it definitely was a wild ride, and it definitely came to a good ending with BFB 30. And I know a lot of people cried when BFB ended. I did myself. And yeah, I guess that's all we have to say for BFB. And without any further ado, it's time to move on to TPOT. Now keep in mind, even though we're entering the most recent season, which would mean that the video is coming to a close, it's actually not, seeing how we have one more interview, and we're going to do a lot of BFDI theories throughout the course of the timeline, or the rest of the timeline, since there's a lot of things to speculate about in BFDI. We're also going to go back to the comic ages, so we can analyze that when it comes to TPOT 15. Get ready, is because we are only beginning. Special thanks to Fastduck for most of these BFDI theories that I'm going to be discussing in this section of the video right now. Most of these are theories, if not all of them, actually, are theories related to BFB, We're going to be going over a lot of these theories before we move on to TPOT. And yeah, I'm going to have chapters on this video, so if you want to skip this section of the video and move straight to TPOT, then the chapters will be in the description. I'm too lazy to put it in the actual video, so yeah. Anyways, without any further ado, let us move on to the BFDI theories section of this video. Now, for the sake of these theories, I'm going to be referencing a lot of Fastduck's theories from his videos, mainly about BFB. But from these theories, like the I gave every BFB episode a theory video, I'm going to be changing up a lot of them that I think I don't personally agree with and making new theories out of them. And I'm also going to be explaining them in a bit more descriptive way, I guess. So, when we start off with these theories, we're going to have to go all the way back to 2017, the beginning of BFB. Yeah, we're going back in the timeline is because we need to bring these theories to light. Now, my theory for BFB1 is that 4 and X are working with the announcer. You see, I think the whole thing in BFB 30 with announcer was staged between 4X and announcer himself. I believe that announcer wanted these two to take over the show and change it as much as they possibly can. Alright, no. That was a joke. That's not my theory. That theory is stupid. See, my theory is very similar to Fastduck's theory. You see, it's pretty simplistic, and it's basically that 4 and X travel directly from the equation playground and were never on Earth really until BFB1. It's basically like Fastduck's theory on BFB1, just said in a different way. You see, it's highly believed that 4 and X lived on Earth for a decent amount of time before they hosted BFB, given by the clip of 4 watching TV in BFB 30, but I don't necessarily believe that. I think they came directly from the equation playground, similar to 2, but actually, upon further inspection, I don't think that 2 came from the equation play. Alright, you know what, no, we're getting too deep into this. It's only BFB 1, moving on. For BFB 2, I believe that there could be 2 actual theories. The first one is Fastduck's theory, where Roboti could be possibly suicidal because of his actions in the episode and him trying to jump off a cliff, him being used as a, how do I say this? Him being used as a ladder in BFB 16 and him not really doing anything about it to defend himself, that could be the case. Or it could be that Roboti is planning something. We don't know what exactly, but he could be planning some kind of revenge arc. Who knows, honestly? I mean, it could be either one of these theories. I'm pretty sure the Roboti is suicidal theory is probably more accurate for the time. He's probably not suicidal anymore. But I think for the time, that theory was probably more accurate than the other one that I said. But honestly, who knows? I guess we'll just have to wait and see once we see him again. For BFB 3, I wholeheartedly agree with Fastduck's theory. Balloony could definitely be in cahoots with 4. Seeing how in this episode, when Balloony tells Cloudy about Eternal Algebra class being the elimination location, 4 tells him that Balloony is not supposed to know that, indicating that 4 is probably trying to cover up the fact that he told Balloony about Eternal Algebra class. I don't know why these two would be working with each other, but it does have a little bit of credence to it. But there is an overarching question. Why would 4 be working with a contestant as random as Balloony? I guess we'll never truly know. But it would be cool to see how this happened in a future BFDI episode. I doubt it'll be explored, though. BFB 4 has the same thing. I actually do agree with the guy who's covering this theory. I also believe that Bell's string can connect to the Algebraian planet. Or the, what's it called again? What is it called again? Oh yeah, the equation playground. I do believe that Bell's string could lead to something like the equation playground. I honestly have no idea if we'll ever truly get to see what's at the top of Bell's string. Or, actually, I have another theory. What if Bell's string leads to Announcer's planet, whatever the heck that's called? Maybe it could lead there. Honestly, who knows? But I do think that it has something to do with the hosts. Honestly, no one really knows, and I don't think we'll ever truly get an answer to what's truly at the top of Bell's string. But hey, I guess it's up for interpretation. Also, I've been stuttering a lot in this video. Both mine and Fastduck's theory for BFB 5 is that objects do in fact have real names, seeing how Penn's legal birth name is Ben, leading me to believe that I'm pretty sure most of these object show characters might even have real names. I mean, if they can use the bathroom somehow, they must have real people names. I mean, honestly, I don't know though. It's probably not the case, and we're probably not going to get to see more of this kind of gag throughout the series. But dude, if it gets revealed that like people in BFDI have like real names, like Snowball's real name is like Javarius or something like that, that'd be funny, bro. I mean, it's probably not the case, but like like Blocky's name is Baxter or something like that. That'd be a weird name, but I'm yapping too much. My theory for BFB 6 is that 4 never truly left. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but think about it. He just kind of randomly shows up back one day. I mean, okay, not necessarily. He's kind of extracted from Donut and splattered all over the floor. But, like, I mean, come on. He never really left. He was just reduced to some kind of liquid. You know what I mean? It's not like he just disappeared and, like, Donut, I don't know, like, absorbed his essence or something like that. Ford technically never left if he was always in that syringe thing that Donut used. You know what I mean? I don't think that he left, and this theory could probably be proven true because of what I just said. So yeah, my theory for BFB 6 is officially that 4 never disappeared when he was multiplied by Donut, or 0, whichever one you want to say, I guess. Okay, look, I'm going to keep it a stack and a half, alright? I do not think that BFB 7 has a theory. I know Fordle said that, I don't know, Bommy could be a vampire, but I mean, come on, guys. I don't think that BFB 7 has a single theory. I think, in my opinion, BFB 7 was kind of just like a filler episode. I mean, like, there was your usual BFB antics, but I don't think anything really theory-wise happened in this episode. I mean, feel free to disagree with me in the comments. I'm definitely yapping right now. But I kind of want to see what you guys' BFB 7 theories could possibly be. So let me know in the comments. Probably put a timestamp, or else I'm not going to know what the heck you're talking about. But yeah, moving on to BFB 8. My theory for BFB 8 is basically like Fastduck's theory, just said in a different way. You see, my theory for BFB 8 is that Donut murdered Fiery Speaker Box. Because, well, Fiery Speaker Box just randomly dropped from the sky in multiple different pieces, and Donut used him as the elimination prize. So it does lead me to believe that Donut murdered Fiery Speaker Box. But it's not just that. It's because back in BFDIA, Fiery Speaker Box used Donut's chopped up corpse as a, well, elimination prize. So it's no doubt that Donut probably got his get back on Fiery Jr.? Wow. Fiery Jr. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that Donut probably got his get back on Fiery Speaker Box and ended up using my boy as a elimination prize for the contestants. I really hope no one ate him, but it's whatever. Now that I think about it, like in this show's timeline, obviously, I mean, now that BFDIA came back, that's not really the case, but within the show's timeline, that means that we haven't seen Fiery Speaker Box for a pretty long time. At least a year, I'm pretty sure, since IDFB came out in 2016. Honestly, guys, I'm going to be honest, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure Donut was able to get his lick back on a good old Fiery Speaker Box. BFB 9 is the shortest BFB episode, and there's not really any theories I can find for BFB 9 either. Yeah, Fastduck, I'm all out of luck too, my man. But I'm going to yap about BFB to fill in the space, is because why not? You see, BFB is a very complex season in BFDI. Honestly, it's very charming in its style and its humor. Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. And that is the main reason why a lot of people love not just Pre Split, but BFB as a series. As a series? What? It's a season, not a series. What am I doing? Anyway, that's why a lot of people love BFB as a season. I can't really say the same for BFB Post Split, though. Yeah, BFB Post Split is not the most liked season in BFB. Yeah, I said season in BFB, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Why can't I? Okay, I'm sorry, but Fastduck's theory for BFB 10 is so good, bro. His theory is basically that the exit is a completely different dimension, which kind of makes sense. The exit in BFB, for those of you who don't know, is the elimination area where eliminated contestants are held for the duration of the series. Yeah, anyone eliminated in pre-split was unlucky enough to be kept there for the entire time. In fact, even in TPOT, yeah, they weren't even let out. Wow, that really makes me think of 4 in a lot less of a good light, honestly. I mean, come on, he kept these guys in there for years. Like, years. A long time. Like, I'm pretty sure Pencil, like, let's say Pencil never tried to escape the exit, right? Pencil would have been there for 8 whole years. Think about that. Anyway, back to what I was saying before. The exit in BFB could be like a pocket dimension within 4, is because we've seen how expansive it is, just how large the 4 is on the inside. That sounded so weird, but like the inside of 4 is literally like an entire dimension, bro. You could literally live inside of 4, which I don't think anyone would want to do that, but yeah. Now I'm going to do what Fastduck did for BFB 11. You see, for those of you who don't know, a popular theory for BFB 11 was that the exit door was going to reveal where the TPOT elimination area was. But it ended up being revealed later on in TPOT that that was not the case. So I'm going to share what I thought my theory was. See, my theory was that the exit door would lead to the equation playground. There is literally nothing to support this. Well, actually, no, that's wrong. There were some doors that we saw inside of 4's school that led to the equation playground, so I kind of thought that was going to be the case for the exit. Unfortunately, it wasn't, but I think it would be really cool to see some of the BFDI contestants interact with the equation playground. It'll probably never happen, though. Actually, you know what? Who knows? Honestly, Jack and Jillify is very unpredictable. They might try to pull something like that off. Honestly, I don't know. It was cool back in the day kind of discussing what would be behind the exit door. Honestly, there was a lot of possibilities. It could have been the equation playground. It could have been the teapot area. It could have been, I don't know, Yoil City or something like that. Honestly, who knows? A lot of people thought that the exit door led to the real world. I remember that being a pretty big theory, but that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Anyway, let's move on to the next BFB episode, BFB 12. I kind of want to talk about Fastduck's theory for BFB 12. You see, Fastduck's theory for BFB 12 is that Gelatin is a murderer, which it's not even really a theory at that point. It's just straight up fact. I mean, come on, he owns a steakhouse. We see him grabbing one of the not eliminated contestants. We see him grab a recommended character called Steak. I mean, come on. What do you think he's gonna do with Steak? Take him on a date? No. He's gonna, how do I say this? He's gonna serve him up real nice, which is funny, is because, ew, that's weird. I'm starting to think about that. Steak is a living character in Battle for Dream Island. And other living characters are eating him. Yeah, when you think about this theory a lot more in depth, it's kind of weird. I mean, he's taking another, I don't want to say human being, but like a human to them, right? Like another object, cooking them, killing them, cooking them, and then serving them to other people. This theory gets really dark, and it makes me think of Gelatin in a very different light, honestly. I don't know, man. I mean, first Gelatin's being believed to be a cannibal, now he's doing this. Oh my goodness, dude. Gelatin is a really messed up character. In fact, I'm gonna make a video about Gelatin one day. It's because this theory, man, this BFB 12 theory really gets dark. Like, when you really think about it. Like, my goodness, Gelatin, I thought you were better than this, man. GD Nacho's theory, like, no glaze. For BFB 13, GD Nacho's theory might just be the best BFDI theory I've ever seen. And that theory is that characters are born on their debuts. Or, like, the newbies, like the guys who just appeared in BFDIA or BFB, they were born on their debuts. Now, there's 2 reasons why I believe this, and probably GD Nacho believes this too. The first reason is that in BFB 13, Gady says to Book, "What are the first words you have ever said?" And Book brings up the fact that the first words that she's ever said was, "I'm a dictionary, you better believe it," which is when Book was debuting all the way back in the day. Meaning that these contestants might just be born on their debuts if that was Book's first ever words. And it's not just that. In one of the BFB episodes, Donut asks Gelatin, "Gelatin, why do you always act like you're 6 years old?" Is because, and then Gelatin after that, he says, "Because I am." And this was made at a time where 6 years ago, Gelatin was debuting, which just, it's crazy when you really think about it, but it kind of makes sense because of those two key examples, which is why I think this is like one of the best BFDI theories ever, is because it is most likely true because of only those two examples. It's just too good, man, to overlook. And it's crazy is because these two examples are like blink and you'll miss it examples. Like, a lot of people overlooked this until about a year ago. People weren't really talking about this stuff. It's honestly insane, and I really want this theory to get some more credence. I might even make a whole video about it by itself. Another amazing theory that is discussed in the coverage of BFB 14 is that the waterfall area in BFB Pre Split leads to the real world. You see, in BFB 14, when the whole lava flooding thing is going on, Woody ends up entering an event that takes him to the waterfall area that we saw Rabadi in a previous BFB episode. Once he falls through the waterfall area, he ends up in the real world, which kind of leads me and a lot of others to believe that this waterfall dimension kind of separation transition thing might lead to our world, and it might be the bridge or gateway from our world to the BFB world, which, obviously we can't get there in real life, but you know what I mean? It's cool to think about, honestly. I mean, there is a lot of interesting BFDI theories, dude. Like, I'm telling you. And a lot of them come from BFB, honestly. A lot of them come from BFB. A lot more of the broader BFDI theories have kind of been solved with TPOT, you know what I mean, and all that stuff. But there's a good amount of BFB theories that have not been solved yet. Is because BFB ended without any of these theories kind of being given any credence, which is a big reason why I think BFB might not be a very lore-heavy object show, which is funny considering the video that I'm making right now. But it might not be the most lore-heavy object show, but there's a lot of things you can speculate on. I mean, think about it like this. It at least has to have some lore, like, because of the sheer amount of theories you can make about BFDI. I mean, look at Fastduck, bros, and he's known for the BFDI theories. You know what I mean? There's so many cool things to speculate about. You know what I mean? And it's not getting revealed, which even makes it even cooler to speculate about it and just really just try to get answers for a lot of the mysteries in Battle for Dream Island. But I'm going on a tangent here. Let's get to the next episode. BFB 15, here we go. Yeah, I agree with Fastduck on this one. Cloudy might be a thief. I mean, we see multiple instances where we see other contestants' stuff in Cloudy's just pile of junk that he's been collecting. I think Cloudy might be so obsessed with collecting stuff that he's just stealing a bunch of the characters' items, which is really funny to me, honestly. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Cloudy is a really interesting character. I mean, like, just the fact that he's obsessed with collecting things and adding them to his collection is just hilarious to me. I mean, bro, he stole flowers remote, bro, and just stuffed it in this pile of stuff, which I don't know how he carries that around. That should be a theory in and of itself. How does Cloudy carry around his massive collection? I mean, just imagine the things that he has in there. Like, I don't even want to know. I'm pretty sure he has a random window in his collection. Like, what in the world? Why does he need a window? What is he planning to do with this massive collection of just stuff? You know what I mean? My BFB 16 theory is mostly a what if. But what if 2 never showed up in BFB 16? What if the split never happened, TPOT was never created, and BFB Post Split never existed? I think people would have still loved BFB, And I also think that it would have been just now ending about a year and a half ago. Honestly, we probably wouldn't have gotten a lot of the cool stuff that we would have seen otherwise. Who knows? Maybe BFDIA wouldn't have came back. Honestly, it's hard to really tell what would have been if the split never occurred. I'm kind of glad that it did, though. Even though we were cursed with BFB Post Split, I do think that the split spawned some really cool stuff in TPOT. I mean, TPOT 15 itself was a masterpiece. We got to see another Algebraian be a host, which was crazy at the time. You know what I mean? So it was awesome, you know what I mean, getting the split, at least in my opinion. But it would have been cool to see what BFB and the rest of Battle for Dream Island as a series would have been like if the split never even happened. But at the end of the day, we'll never truly know what BFDI would have been if the split never occurred. I mean, it was bound to happen. Either that or they would eliminate like 2 or 3 contestants each elimination, which would be insane. But honestly, who knows? Vote to Save was crazy though with BFB. I remember a lot of characters got screwed over by that. Fastduck's theory about Leafy and Evil Leafy being the same person kind of makes sense considering how in BFB 17, which is the current BFB episode we're having a theory on, it's implied that Leafy has these huge eyes when Lollipop is talking to her. And guess who has those eyes as well? Evil Leafy. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it makes sense not even just because of that. I'm pretty sure back in BFDI, we saw Leafy turn into Evil Leafy for a split second for a couple of times, or like a few frames. It's most likely that they're the same person, even though this might not be the case considering what happened in BFDIA with the whole fiery recovery thing. But honestly, who knows? We never really see them like together in one scene. So honestly, who knows? You could both disprove and prove this with a good amount of evidence. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Okay, Fastduck, my buddy, my boy, my man, you were not cooking with that BFB 18 theory, bro. Flower is a person, not a flower. I don't know, man. I don't know. That could be the case. I don't know. It just sounds a bit goofy to me. Basically, in the theory, for those of you who are unaware, Fastduck explains how Flower, without her petals, could possibly be a human. Also, she has a human-like body and has a actual brain, which is seen in BFB 18. So that could allude to the fact that Flower is a human. I don't know. I guess I personally don't think this theory is the case. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think Flower's a human? Or do you think Flower's just, well, a regular object? Honestly, I don't know, guys. I just don't know. I feel like that's just not the case. But let me know. Let me know in the comments. All right, put the timestamp. Let me know. What do you think Flower is a human or just a regular flower? Because I am really curious to see what you guys think. I'm going to do what I do best when it comes to these theories. I'm going to do this for BFB 19 too. I agree with Doggy Art's theory. I'm just going to say it in a bit of a different way. 4 is able to kill other Algebraians. You see, in BFB 19, X is whispering something into Lollipop's ear. She repeats exactly what he says. Well, not exactly what he says, but the gist of it. Basically, back in BFB 3, 4 was just about to unalive Gelatin when X interrupted him to start the intro. But 4 seemed very upset after X interrupted him, and we mysteriously don't see X during the elimination. He also returns later on in the episode and 4 says no one noticed you were gone, which leads me to believe that 4 probably unalived X. I hate saying that, honestly. I really do not like saying that. But it's pretty obvious that's probably what ended up happening to him. Or worse. I don't even know what that could be. Well, let's not try to imagine that. Like other BFB episodes before, BFB 20 is mostly a kind of goofing off episode. There's nothing really plot heavy that happens in this episode, or at least nothing that's really worthy of a theory. Fastduck did make a theory about this episode, saying that Ruby was never truly eliminated. But come on, seriously, you know what I mean? Like, come on. There's nothing really with this episode. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. No theory for BFB 20. It was, I wouldn't say a filler episode, but it was just kind of like a regular BFB episode. Not really much lore-wise going on, unfortunately. So, yeah. BFB 21 has a very popular theory that Bubble actually isn't. See, there was an ad for a Bubble Transformer thingy-majig all the way back in Season 1. Bubble claiming that she used it before in this episode leads a lot of people, including myself, to believe that Bubble wasn't always a bubble. I don't know what Bubble was before this. Hopefully it wasn't some weird creature. But Bubble might have actually been a human. Who knows? Honestly, that kind of does make me think, is there other devices that can change people into objects? Is that how we got the BFDI cast in the first place? Who knows, honestly. Honestly, it's really cool to think about it. But also, if Bubble dies, isn't a different Bubble each time? Dude, I have no idea. This is an entire rabbit hole that we haven't even discussed yet. Honestly, I would love to make a video going over this entire thing, is because this theory in and of itself is very interesting. Obviously, Bubble probably wasn't always a bubble, considering, well, if she bought the product, then that means that she was some other species before she became a bubble. Who knows? Now, unlike before, Fastduck was actually cooking when he made this theory for BFB 22. You see, for those of you that are unaware, Fastduck's theory for BFB 22 is that, well, Woody actually sees the world differently than others, which is why, for the longest, he's been so afraid of just about everything. We see in BFB 22 that Woody sees people as very evil and rude, I guess. I mean, you just have to watch the episode for yourself to understand what I'm talking about. But Woody sees the world in a lot more of a, how do I say this? Unkind way. And more violent, I guess. I mean, his color scheme is different. There's this weird kind of thing, white void thing surrounding. It's just weird. And it kind of makes sense to why he was afraid of everything and everyone for the longest time. Obviously, he doesn't see the world like this anymore, considering how Blocky kind of helped him get over a lot of his fears towards the end of BFB. But it's interesting to think about. Trollsy's theory for BFB 23 is that 4 is a criminal. I have more of a question about BFB 23. 4 says that he was put behind bars the previous night when he's in jail in BFB 23. The whole challenge is to free the guy. But who put 4 behind bars? We know how powerful 4 is as a character and as a host in general. Who or what could have put this individual behind bars in this cage and make him stay trapped there for as long as he was? It's kind of an eerie question. Is there something out there that's more powerful than 4 that was able to do this to him? Did 1 do it? Or was it an entirely different creature altogether? I don't think we'll truly know the answer. Maybe it was 3 or another algebra alien. I mean, I don't know. 4 might not be the most powerful, but honestly, who knows, man? It's kind of interesting to think about. Fastduck's theory for BFB 24 low-key kind of makes sense. It's that Gelatin actually has a clone. It's not only because of the fact that his voice actor changed in that episode, but also throwback to BFDIA 5A, when we see 2 Gelatins in one scene, which is very weird. It might have most likely just been a mistake, but it's actually kind of fun to think about when you really take a moment to realize it. I mean, Gelatin might just have a clone. I mean, who knows what happened to the old version of them? I don't know. Maybe that whole steakhouse business must have caught up to him. Maybe one of his victims' families or friends came after the guy and got rid of him, which probably is pretty unlikely though, because he would have gotten recovered. I mean, honestly, who knows what happened to the old Gelatin? Who knows if there's even really a clone of him anyway? It's just fun to speculate about. The theory for BFB 25 is that Gelatin didn't truly win BFB. Well, I mean, duh, he didn't win BFB. Flower did. But basically, the theory goes that because Gelatin brought forth a cursed totem that was filled with vomit, he was cursed for 1,000 years with evil spirits, meaning that something bad probably happened to him afterward. I don't know, maybe he got kidnapped by Evil Leafy or something like that and got sent to the void or whatever. Who knows? But yeah, a very interesting theory about our boy Hypercrystal. Could be true, could not be true, who knows? That's why it's a theory. At the end of the day, it's just a theory, an object. That was way too... BFB 26 is very interesting. You see, Fastduck says that he does in fact believe that Profiley has been competing in Battle for Dream Island since the very beginning, right? Well, if that is the case, then you know what? No. I'm gonna let him cook with BFB 27. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna let him cook with BFB 27. All right, people. I'm gonna let him cook. But I am curious to what Fastduck's gonna have in store for us when it comes to BFB 28. It's because he said he's gonna go more in depth on this theory in BFB 28. So I am definitely curious to see what this guy has planned. But I guess we should also move on to BFB 27, shall we? Okay, Fastduck, when it comes to BFB 27, I think it's a possibility that Lollipop could have been floating endlessly when she got eliminated. It's because, well, you gotta consider this. One, they were driving in a van when Lollipop got eliminated. She just started floating up. Who knows where she went? Honestly, and that's kind of my question. Where did Lollipop go? Was she just floating around endlessly? Or did she end up finding a way to land back on the ground and just wandered around? I don't know, honestly. I really don't know. And to back this theory up, we haven't seen Lollipop in the spinny thingy that's the elimination area. Yeah, I forgot the name of it. I haven't watched Post Split in a very long time. But honestly, who knows what happened to this time? I think we'll never truly know. But there's definitely a lot of cool theories to what happened to her during this time. BFB 28 proves the BFB 26 theory is because when Profiley announces himself to announcer says, "Hey, what's up, Profiley?" Like he's known Profiley since forever. That basically proves that Profiley's been around since the very beginning. I guess the dude just never got any screen time, whatever. I always did find that weird. If he was really around since the very beginning, did he just not get any screen time? Was he just not that interesting? Was he really just not interesting enough to where bro didn't get a single scene of screen time throughout the entirety of every single season until BFB Post Split, specifically BFB 26, which I'm pretty sure that came out like after 2020. Like, bro, telling me for like almost 11 years, no one saw this dude until then. For 11 years, we didn't see him in a single episode until then. I find that funny. Wow. Yeah. For some reason, we also didn't see him get eliminated. All right. You know, I'm getting too deep into this. So let's just move on to BFB 29. BFB 29. Fastduck's theory is, and the announcer is teaming up with 2. Thank you, Fastduck. Thank you, bro. This is the theory. This is the theory for me, bro. Yes, the announcer is most definitely teaming up with 2. I mean, come on. 2 came out of nowhere in BFB 16. Do you think he just wanted to host an object show for no reason? I mean, I'm pretty sure the guy didn't even watch BFDI like 4 did. It's obvious that the announcer probably hired him. Think about it like this, alright? The announcer didn't like that 4 was taking over his show. So, he decided to hire 2 to, how do I say this? Split up the show so the announcer can focus on 4 first. Then, the announcer is probably going to get 1 to, I don't know, try to destroy TPOT somehow. so the announcer can follow through with his mission on canceling BFDI for good. See, I believe that announcer was lying to Four when he said that he wasn't going to cancel the show. I'm pretty sure he's going to double cross 2 at some point and try to end BFDI for good. Or not, who knows. Double tap! Fastduck is cooking with these theories, bro. His theory for BFB 30 is awesome. You see, his theory is that BFB was just a dream. You see, think about it. Since the beginning of BFDI has been a die-hard fan of the show and has wanted to host a season for forever now. I mean, we see it in the flashback scene when X was narrating to the contestants about why 4 was so crazy about everything. So, what if it was just a dream? What if 4 this entire time was dreaming about hosting a season and he never really hosted BFB? Who knows, honestly. And also, the location is a bit different. The animation style is different as well. Everything visual-wise is kind of different. So, who knows? It could definitely be 4's dream. This theory could probably be debunked, though, since we do see the contestants remembering 4 when he appears a few times throughout TPOT. But, I don't know. It could still be true. I mean, I don't know. There's both ways to prove it and disprove it. So, I guess that's up for you to decide. I want to say thank you so much to Fastduck for making this whole BFB theories video, is because that really helps me out when it comes to coming up with a lot of these BFB theories that I put in this video. This was a very hectic section. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm currently recording this at 2 a.m. right now. I am dead tired. So, yeah. Anyway, we're not done quite yet. Yeah, we still got TPOT to go over. And we're going to go back to the comics ages too once we get to TPOT 15. It's crazy. And who knows, TPOT 16 might release tomorrow, so I might have to add that into the timeline. Honestly, who knows what's going to happen. Like I said, thanks again to Fastduck for doing this section, but we still got a long way to go, guys. Yeah, we still got a long-ass way to go. So, yeah, get pumped! But I do have one last thing to say before we end off this section. My message is about BFB. BFB, in my opinion, is a really good BFDI season. Post Split wasn't the best, but I think we can all find something that we enjoy about Post Split along with Pre Split. I think BFB just had a lot of charm to it. It was a goofy and wacky season where the contestants were just messing around and were just dealing with their own problems, their own hardships, and were going through adventures along the way. It had a lot of the same charm that the first season. And BFB, for a lot of people, including myself, is kind of nostalgic, especially Pre Split. I think it was the nature of BFB that really resonated with a lot of people, honestly. And it will definitely be missed. Even though the season came to an end properly, and it wasn't canceled or anything like that. It's an amazing season through and through. And honestly, who knows if we'll even have something quite like it. I mean, TPOT, it's getting close, honestly, though. Like, seriously. TPOT is a really good season. We're actually going to get to that pretty soon. Oh, yeah. By the way, we're pretty far into the video. So if you're still watching right now, make sure to subscribe. One is because I'm up very late at night today. And also, this video is taking a long time to make. And I love making these super long documentaries that are OSC related and BFDI related. So if you want to see more of that, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. So, yeah, that was basically my message when it comes to BFB. And my apologies, everyone, my audio cut out. But what I was going to say is that there was a lot of good theories in this video, both created by Fastduck and a lot of others. And it's nice to actually cover a lot of these theories. I wanted to give them, I guess kind of wanted to put them in more light. I'm hoping that this video reaches a lot of people. And I just want a lot of people to see these theories. And I want you guys to comment in the comment section down below what you guys think about a lot of these theories regarding BFB. And not really just BFB, but Battle for Dream Island as well as a series. Is because BFDI is a very interesting series. It's very complex, in my opinion, honestly. And, well, yeah, that's basically it. Honestly, I cannot wait to wrap up this video, is because I've been working on this for a while. We still have one more season to talk about, and that season is Teapot. So let's go ahead and get into it. Final season of the video. Here we go. Oh, wait. Hold on. Wait a minute. Don't you guys think it would be really cool if Fastduck himself commented on this video? Bro, just think about it. Fastduck commenting on this video. I don't think I've gotten a comment by Fastduck. Okay, actually, no, I have. But I think it's only been one. Is he going to see this? I'm yapping too much. Let's just move on to Teapot. It's January of 2021, and Teapot has began. You know, Teapot is a very good season, in my opinion. And the first episode is a prime example of that. There's a lot of good stuff going on in this episode. We got some awesome team picking scenes. We get a debut. I mean, my favorite recommended character didn't join, but that's fine. Anyway, we got a pretty good challenge as well. Teapot 1 is awesome. There's not really anything lore heavy, though, that happens in this episode. But that is going to change very soon. Alright, don't get discouraged. That is definitely going to change very soon. But I think it's about time we move on to the next Teapot episode, shall we? Oh yeah, I almost forgot something. The what's behind the exit door might get revealed very soon. I'm saying this in hindsight of Teapot 1. At the time, what was behind the exit door was still a theory. So, yeah. In the after credits scene, we see the eliminated contestants opening up the exit door with a white void being behind it. Obviously, that's not what they saw. But for the people watching Teapot 1 at the time, I bet they were shitting their pants trying to figure out what was behind that door. June 18th, 2022, and Teapot 2 has released. A very long time after Teapot 1, might I add. Around 17 months, which is insane. Anyway, moving on. Teapot 2 mainly focuses on the leadership, or questions the leadership of Basketball and her team. You see, during the challenge, which is a block stacking challenge, don't ask. Basketball leaves to go mess with Robot Flower for a little while. She puts Eggy in charge, and let's just say things don't go very well. And Basketball is very upset at Eggy because of this, but Basketball mainly just dumped a lot of her leadership responsibilities onto Eggy, which probably wasn't the best idea, is because a random team member, you know what I mean? It's just not the best idea. So they end up getting into a bit of a heated argument, I guess you could say. And for some reason, Foley gets involved. I don't know why. But this kind of not divides the team, but kind of causes a bit of a rip in the team. Since, you could argue both sides. You could argue Eggy probably should have been more prepared and probably shouldn't have left her team. You could say the same thing for Basketball and say that Basketball should have dumped all of her leadership responsibilities onto one of her random teammates, might I add, and just left in the middle of the challenge to go mess with the Robot Flower when she could have done that at any other point in the episode. But, whatever. Honestly, Teapot 2 was kind of mid for me, I'm going to be honest with you. And it looks like my boy Crystal Critique agrees. But, yeah. So, what do you guys think about Teapot 2? Do you think it was a good episode? Do you think it was a bad episode? Let me down. Let me know down below in the comments. I think me and you can both agree that Teapot 3 does not have a lot going on. Yeah, it's one of those filler episodes. Teapot 3 kind of reminds me of, those early BFB Pre Split episodes, there's not a whole lot happening. It's mostly just the contestants messing around, like a lot more of a slower pacing, in my opinion. And honestly, sorry if I'm out of breath. I just went for a run. Probably wasn't the best time to do that, but yeah. So it has a lot more of a slower pacing, in my opinion, and it's really just the contestants just messing around. They do the challenge, obviously. Um, it's just lighthearted, like just a lighthearted and goofy episode. Like even the after credit scene, you know what I mean? So I think that's going to be the case probably up until like an episode like Teapot 6. But I guess the only thing we can do now is move forward. It's March of 2023, so it's definitely been a while. And Teapot 4 is officially out. And this episode is personally one of my favorites, I think it's mainly because of the fact that they go to a lot of different locations throughout the Goiki area. And I kind of like that, it's nice seeing, or it was nice seeing Yoil City again, you know what I mean, for a long time. You gotta understand that T-Bot 4 came out before BFDIA 6 was even a thing, right? The announcement didn't come out. No one was even thinking BFDIA was going to make a return at all. So, by this time, we had not seen Yoil Land or Yoil City, for that matter, for about, 7 years? Because, 2016 was the last time we saw it at the time of this episode. So it was nice seeing that location again in an actual Battle for Dream Island episode. Something that wasn't nice was the yellow face or purple face or whatever face skeleton that was. That looked really creepy in that desert area thing. Yeah, that was very interesting. Bro, I don't know what happened to that thing. Maybe that was when the yellow face got caught, or maybe that was when yellow face got glued to the ground or something like that. Dude just rotted away for a decade. Wow. But yeah. So it was nice seeing a lot of these new and old locations in this episode. I think the challenge was pretty lighthearted and cool. Nothing really plot heavy happened this episode though, so yeah. Anyways, let's move on to Teapot 5, shall we? Fast forward to May of 2023, and we get Teapot 5. Teapot 5 is a very interesting episode, in my opinion. It's because something very interesting happens in this episode. We'll get to that later. See, Teapot 5's challenge is, I don't even know. I'm pretty sure it's to rescue Two's plates. Is because he somehow loses them, and they just go all over the place. So, yeah, the challenge is to rescue Two's plates. So, there's a lot of interesting stuff that happens here, obviously. There's teams that travel in robot, fish, train, underwater submarine things. There's teams that go in bubbles. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in this episode. I think the challenge is honestly a really fun idea, in my opinion. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is another one of those episodes to where it's just kind of filler. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. There's not a whole lot of lore with these first couple episodes. But I promise you that's going to change. Now, I want to get to the thing that I said I was going to talk about later, so let's talk about that now. This is tennis ball. This is when a lot of people thought that tennis ball was a simp for golf ball. Is because he just started randomly boxing Penn for no reason. Because, I guess Penn and golf ball were beefing for whatever reason. So, yeah, that was funny to see that in the episode. So, a lot of people were calling tennis ball a simp. Peak tennis ball hate, bro. I think even I made a video on it, back in, September of 2023. Pretty sure it's deleted now, like all the other videos on my channel. But, yeah. I think this episode, it was fun, but it was definitely another filler episode. And I'm pretty sure Teapot 6 might be the same thing. But who knows? I haven't seen it yet. Okay, I'm joking. I have. I just haven't seen it in a year. Wow. I need to catch up on BFDI, bro. After further inspection on Teapot 6, I was unfortunately correct. Released in July of 2023. Yeah, it was a good episode, but it was a pretty good episode. I enjoyed it, but not a lot of lore stuff happened in the episode. It was kind of like a filler episode, basically all the other episodes in Teapot before it. But don't get things twisted, all right? Teapot is still a very, very good season. There's just not a lot of plot episodes in the first couple episodes, but that's going to change really, really soon. Like, I'm pretty sure by the time Teapot 7 rolls around, we're going to have some pretty good stuff on our hands. But I do want to announce that we're going to be having a special guest on this section of the video. This is actually going to be our last special guest in the video. And I'm going to interview this guy, all right? And he's going to give us some questions, or actually, no, I'm going to give him some questions. He's going to give us some answers on some various BFDI topics, including BFB, TPOT, and Battle for Dream Island as a series. So, yeah, just get ready for that. That's going to be awesome. But I want to go over TPOT 7 first, and then we'll get to the interview. Sorry, over here at TG Incorporated, we were experiencing some technical difficulties, and my audio cut out. What I was going to say is that we're going to go ahead and cover Teapot 7, and yeah, and then we're going to do the interview. Since I do want to talk about that episode before we go ahead and interview this last interviewee before, yeah. I said interview way too many times. I have a problem, bro. Oh boy, Teapot 7. I am so excited to cover this episode. So some really cool stuff happens here, and even some lore stuff happens in this episode. Released on September 11th, 2023, Teapot 7 has some very interesting events that are going on. See, basketball gives us one of the most painful intro transitions ever, bro. Like, basketball's voice mixing with the Teapot intro just does not work for me. Anyway, moving on. The challenge is very interesting, and the only reason why the Teapot 7 challenge even exists is because Lightning crashed out because he was eliminated, which I find really funny. In fact, I think Lightning has like one of the funniest crash outs in BFDI, bro. Anyway, moving on. And the challenge itself, honestly, was pretty cool. It was nice to see like the teams just try to fix like the broken world like as best as they can. Mind you, I'm pretty sure all of this stuff was happening both in southern and northern Guiki. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Also, for those of you that are unaware, yes, Teapot does take place in northern Guiki. So, yeah, there was that. But then some lore stuff actually happened in Teapot 7. Yeah, we actually got to see what's behind the exit door in this episode, which is awesome. It's revealed that this whole classroom, algebra classroom thing, that the contestants of BFB were trapped in, or the eliminated contestants of BFB were trapped in. For all those years, yeah, it was a part of an actual school, which is insane. In fact, one of the rooms in that school leads to the equation playground. This is one of the few Teapot, like early Teapot episodes that I actually have rewatched recently. I think I rewatched it a couple days ago, which is probably why I'm so excited to cover this episode. But yeah, you should definitely go watch for yourself if you haven't in a while or just haven't at all. 2 announcements. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that now. Also, the second announcement is we are going to be interviewing our boy Derpy Doofus in this last interview of the video. And then we're going to go ahead and mosey on our way through Teapot. And I got something else planned at the very end of the video, but we'll get to that a bit later. Anyway, moving on. I want to say, before we start this interview, my audio quality is very bad, like really bad. Mainly because I don't have my microphone plugged in throughout this section. It's because I lost my headphones. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. I hope you guys enjoy this 11-minute long interview. Don't worry, Derpy Doofus gives us some really cool answers to these questions. So, yeah, enjoy.
I'm doing good. So, in this interview, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, BFDI related, mainly about BFB. But, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
audience who's unaware of who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Derpy Doofus. I normally am known for reaction videos, but I also do other stuff like commentaries, and I don't know. I'm just a guy in the world.
Alright. So, one of the first questions that I do want to ask you is, what are your thoughts on BFB Pre Split?
I thought it was great. The humor was like nothing like I've seen before. They were on a different level, and I kind of wish it continued. I wasn't a big fan of the team losing order, because like Team Ice Cube and Beep just lost 3 times before any other team lost. But, you know, what are you gonna do? I think, it was great.
Alright, so the next question that I have is, what are your thoughts on BFB Post Split?
It wasn't the great. I definitely think it was the weakest season, but
on rewatch, it wasn't that bad once it got towards like the second half or after the court episode. But the animation was pretty inconsistent, which was kind of distracting. I think it definitely could have been better, but BFDIA is what BFB was trying to be, I think.
Alright, so the next question that I have for you is what would you say is the main difference between post split and pre split, just in general?
Honestly, pretty much everything. The humor, the animation was a lot more inconsistent. And yeah, it just wasn't as jokes weren't just hitting the same. And I feel like BFB was funny without trying to be funny. I'm talking about pre-split. And post-split, it was like the jokes were pretty much like trying to tell you the joke itself, like explaining it within the joke. It was kind of just weird, trying too hard, but I don't know. Just in the cast itself didn't really mesh too well together. I mean, they did, but just for that point in the season, I wouldn't say.
The next question that I do have for you is what is your favorite BFDI season?
Honestly, it's really hard. Like, honestly, like I could say any of them other than IDFB because it's just one episode. But it's a boring answer, but I cannot choose. Like, because BFDI has a charm which will like never be replicated, especially for like being 13 and 14 years old. BFDIA is just super funny. BFB same, and TPOT it's starting to get really good. So I don't know. Is that an answer or do you want an answer?
No, that's
All right.
So the next question that I have is, what would you say in terms of like quality, like visuals, voice acting, animation, all that stuff, is what would you say is like the best quality BFDI season?
In terms of animation, I think Teapot highest. Actually, maybe that's not even true. Split had like really cool visuals, like the exit and the scene with Robot Flower. But I think Teapot overall is more consistently like really good. But BFDIA is more consistent overall. But I'll say Teapot.
Alright. So, another question that I'm wondering about is what are your thoughts on the BFDI community/fandom?
Well, I will say, Twitter has been very toxic recently. And it is kind of annoying. Like, I just enjoy the show. They, like, pick on every small thing. But, you know, it can be nice sometimes. People can get really toxic over characters, though. And God forbid you have an opinion. But
What would you say is, what would you say, in your opinion, is the best part about BFDI as a series?
I think... I mean, the basic answer would be just the viewer voting. I think that's a really cool concept, which no other series does, or it was the first to do that. But I don't know, it's charm, if that makes sense. Like, I like every single character. There's not a single character that I dislike, and they're just, you know, it's a fun watch.
What would you say is the worst aspect of BFDI as a series?
Let me think. I don't know. Maybe people can be a bit toxic, but that's not really with the series itself. I'm trying to think one like that relates to the series. And I don't want to say nothing because that's super boring. So I will think of an answer. Can I Google? I'm gonna Google bad things about BFDI and then pick one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I want to have an answer. Okay, yeah. Maybe sometimes it can be inconsistent. I'll just say that. And that doesn't, I'm not talking about Samuel Thornberry writing, by the way. People love to pick on him. That is not what I mean. I think talking about like stuff, but what?
I would say that's actually a pretty popular reasoning. A lot of people would argue that the inconsistency of BFDI is a very big issue, especially in a season of BFDIA.
Yeah.
It's like one of the main issues.
Well, I'm not really talking about between different seasons, like BFDIA to TPOT. I'm talking about like within the same season, you know.
Oh yeah. So.
But I don't.
We did talk. Okay, so we talked about who was your favorite BFDI season. What would you say out of all of them is your least favorite season?
Definitely. Ooh. You know what? I'm not gonna say Post Split actually. I'm gonna say IDFB because it's just a 10-minute episode. It's not bad. It's just my least favorite. It's not that I dislike it. But it has potential. But yeah, it's just a 10-minute episode. I don't get how people say it's their favorite season when, like, that's just a regular good episode of any other season.
Yeah. What is an underrated BFDI season to you?
Underrated? Definitely the first season. People say, oh, skip the first season. But no, it is actually really funny on a rewatch. And to take like into account that the 12, 13, 14 is insane. And it has a certain charm. It's a great watch. And they're so funny back then.
Yeah.
So definitely the first.
What's a overrated BFDI season in your opinion?
Overrated? I mean, I think definitely the answer is Teapot. Not that because Teapot's bad, but I don't know if it's the best season as of now. I think it's going in the direction of it will be the best season. But I think what really takes it down a bit for me was the first 6 episodes, mainly episodes 3 through 6, were just nothing episodes. The characters just did the challenge and nothing happened story-wise. And we lost a lot of great characters during that time that we just saw nothing of.
Yeah.
So I think that takes it down from being the best for me. But it's definitely, since episode 7, it's been great.
Now, this is a question that I'm actually really curious about. When or do you think BFDI will end one day, and why?
I don't know if it'll end, but I think its popularity will start to die off after Teapot. I see a lot of talk about a season 6, and I just don't know what they could do with the season. Because that were, made the show what it is, will be done with. There's no need for them to compete anymore. And, we're not going to get a season of all the failed debuters, because, sure, they're fun, but a full season of them would just, if you don't have any of the original characters, and, it's just not going to be the same. I think that's going to be when the OSC will start to die. Because they can't last forever.
Yeah. So, I think what they might do is they might have I think they might use IDFB to finish off BFDI. That's just kind of what I think.
I think that definitely is likely.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So, do you think the OSC will still thrive, or do you think the OSC will be able to survive without BFDI if it does end up ending one day?
I think it'll survive, but it will have peaked. It will, not be at the same size as it was. But I find it hard to believe that the OSC will die, because there's also other types of object shows. But nothing's gonna surpass BFDI. But one might, who knows? I don't know.
So, the last question that I have for the end of the interview is what is your general opinion on BFDI? Do you think there is an object show that might be close to the charm that BFDI has?
No, nothing can beat BFDI in terms of object shows. Even if there's stuff that's like better story wise, like I don't know, 1 or an Anime Insanity 2, nothing will beat the series of BFDI as a whole. It is just the best. And what was the other question? There kind of was two that went into that.
What is your general opinion on Battle for Dream Island as an object show and as a series?
I mean, it's great. Not much to say there. Kind of talked really good about it overall during this interview. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Alright, is there anything you want to say to the audience before we end off this interview session?
Subscribe to Derpy Doofus? Maybe, I don't know, if you want. I don't know.
Well, you heard it from himself. See you all in the next one. Peace.
October 25th, 2023 is a good day for TPOT fans, as TPOT 8 would be released on this day. Now, TPOT 8 has a lot of character development. A lot of the contestants, they go through a lot of drama, a lot of strife in this episode, which I love to see. The contestants are going through it. Well, yeah, the contestants are going through it. They're having talks about their past, events that happened before, and just the relationships in general, which I honestly love to see in Battle for Dream Island episodes. There wasn't really a plot-heavy after credit scene in this episode, though, as Death Pact is seemingly starting to fall apart, though. The reason why I say this is because preventing death has kind of gotten in the way of a lot of things when it comes to Death Pact. I mean, it's getting in the way with them winning the challenges. I mean, Tree even straight up asked Black Hole to kill him is because he's stranded in the water, which sucks. Black Hole unfortunately refuses to do so is because he's made a pact to prevent death. And we saw what happened with Lightning back in TPOT 7, and I don't know, man. It's not looking too good for Death Pact. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's not looking too good for him. But I'm curious to see what TPOT 9 is like. So let's go ahead and look over to TPOT 9 and see what's going on over there. Boom! TPOT 9. Boy, I love this episode. You see, TPOT 9 is a very interesting episode in my opinion. See, it is to escape from the infected. It's kind of like a zombie challenge kind of thing. Released on December 18th, 2023. Mind you, this is post BFDIA's return. It is definitely a very good episode. I like it. Honestly, we get a little bit of lore at the end. We'll get to that a bit later. But I do find this challenge really fun to watch, honestly. I mean, considering the fact that 2 himself ended up getting bitten and infected and turned into a zombie algebraian, which spawned a lot of horror remakes of the scene where he ends up getting Gady. Yeah. Fortunately, their friendship did not matter in this moment of turmoil. It's because Gady got by 2. I love to see it. But yeah, TPOT 9, very good episode. It's also crazy to think that TPOT 9 was a year ago. I remember watching this episode when it first came out. I guess time really does fly by. But back to the after credit scene. This is where we get some more lore. You see, in this after credit scene, we see the Exiters walking through the school, going through various rooms, and just kind of exploring the dimension that they're in, trying to escape. And a few of them might actually be successful. We'll get to that a bit later on. It's been officially a year since the return of TPOT. It is March of 2024, and TPOT 10 has released. Yeah, we're 10 episodes into this season already. So, yeah, awesome. A lot of good things in this episode, honestly. I love the fact that we get to see what the elimination area in TPOT is possibly like, which seems to be some kind of upside down city. Who knows about that? But yeah, we also get to see a lot of interesting locations as well. We go to the BFB area, the BFB area, the BFB area, and that's all I can remember because of the BFB area. Anyways, moving on. We get to see a lot of cool locations, a lot of nostalgic locations from Battle for Dream Island. but this is in dreams, unfortunately. Yeah, the challenge is about dreams and trying to wake people up from nightmares or whatever, and that's boring. Yeah, unfortunately, this is not in the real world, so that sucks. But there's a lot of other cool stuff that happens in this episode as well. We get a lot of cool character interactions, some nostalgic locations that I already talked about for like the fifth time. So, yeah, and also this is the first TPOT episode in 2024, so take that into account. And yeah, I think the idea of like the elimination area being some kind of weird apartment building in an upside down city is really cool. And I hope we'll be able to see more of that in Teapot 16. Who knows when that's going to come out. But yeah, released June 14th, 2024, not too long ago. Teapot 11 is one of my favorite episodes, honestly. And I think it's everyone else's, or one of everyone else's favorite episodes as well, seeing how it really focuses on the Exiters. I mean, just look at the thumbnail. You already know what this episode's going to be about. You guessed it, the Exiters trying to escape from 4. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm going to be honest. The entire episode focuses on these Exiters, and it does not waste any time giving us some really cool ideas and visuals to what the exit really looks like, not just the algebra class. So, yeah, and 4 is not really keen on letting them escape either, which, that's very interesting. I mean, come on, dude, you've kept them captive for 6 years. You'd think he'd want to let them out, but, I guess he doesn't. I mean, honestly, if they never tried to escape, 4 probably would have kept them there for, like, forever. Yeesh, it is hard to not think about that. But, yeah, this is a amazing episode. It has a different intro. It's just awesome. And we get a lot of lore in this episode. We really get to see them explore this weird, strange pocket dimension inside of 4. So, yeah, I personally love this episode. Its quality is awesome. The storyline is awesome. Everything about it is awesome. Like, no glaze, obviously, but I don't know, man. This episode might just be worthy of the glaze that it gets, is because everything about it is just really cool. And honestly, it's a challengeless episode. It's non-competitive, but it makes you, it leaves you on the edge of your seat with its action scenes. It's just amazing. Editor TG here. Yeah, they weren't trapped for 6 years. This happened in 2020. For some reason, I managed to, I don't know, miss the fact that it literally says April of 2020 in the beginning of the episode. Bro, I might need to get my eyes checked, man. Released on July 15th, 2024, Teapot 12 is an amazing episode. Like Teapot 11. In fact, in this episode, we get to know what's up Bell String, which is a location called Bandland, which is probably some kind of dimension or location with a bunch of music notes, just, I don't know, some kind of musical island thing, I guess, which is cool. A lot of people thought it was going to be the Equation Playground or some weird other dimension or something like that. But no, it's an entirely different pocket dimension entirely. That did not make any sense. But yeah, that's a cool thing that we got introduced to in Teapot 12. Another cool thing we got introduced to in Teapot 12 is 1. We actually get to see 1 interact with the contestants in this episode. Well, very few of them, but yeah, we get to know a little bit about 1. Not a whole lot, but we get to know a little bit about 1. We actually see 1 at the end of Teapot 11. We really get to see 1 in action in this episode. And keep in mind, this is not the last time we're going to see 1 at all. Released on September 14th, 2024, Teapot 13 is the first Teapot episode in 2024 to not be released at night, which is funny. Also, in the beginning of this episode, we get to see Fiery and Leafy building some sort of shelter. Unfortunately for them, though, a very dangerous storm is approaching, and everything cuts off after that. We don't see exactly what happens to them right as the storm hits them, but I think we can only assume something bad happens. Anyway, yeah, over in the Teapot land, everything's raining. It's raining pretty hard over there too. So we go through the challenge as usual. We go through the contestants messing around as usual. Everything is pretty much fine. You see, within Teapot 13, within the competition part of it, there's not a lot of lore that's going on in this episode. Well, until we get to the after credit scene, but I'll get there later. I will say this though, in Teapot 13, this is when the visuals really start to pick up. I mean, dude, the backgrounds are awesome. The animation quality is awesome. The editing, I can tell they put a lot of work into that. I think the visuals are really starting to pick up, and it starts with Teapot 13. The visuals in Teapot have always been pretty good to me. I always loved them. But in Teapot 13, dude, it's something about this episode that just unlocks something. I don't know why, but like the quality is just so good. Anyway, moving on. Unfortunately, in the after credits sequence, Leafy is gone and Fiery is by himself. So I'm guessing that Leafy was most likely blown away by the storm. Ouch. How did I forget? How in the world did I forget that we saw one in this episode? Dude, I gotta catch up, man. I gotta catch up. I can't be doing this, bro. I'm sorry, guys. Please forgive me. Released on November 9th, 2024, we have Teapot 14. An amazing Teapot episode, if I might say so myself. We see a lot of amazing locations in this episode, and we also see Pencil come back and try to make amends with the alternates in the Alliance. That does not end up working out is because, well, dude, just if you've seen the episode, bro, just look at Pencil's attempts to try to get them to join in the Alliance, dude. It's just it's not too good, honestly. Comes off in a pretty bad way. But we get to see some of the Exiters in this episode nonetheless, and we also get to see a lot of amazing locations in this episode. Like I said, at least starting in Teapot 13, in my opinion, the quality in these episodes has been getting better and better and better. It's more cinematic. The animation quality is awesome, dude. The animators are really, they're doing great, honestly. And the visuals overall is just amazing, along with the voice acting, which has kind of always been good in BFDI, in my opinion. So yeah. And we also get to see Match in this episode. And Match seems to discover the Pillory Ruins where Ruby and Bubble are currently residing. Now, we don't actually see them interact with each other. We only see Match observe them from afar. But it is nice to see these characters in like the same place again. Hopefully, in the future, we'll be able to see them actually interact with each other properly. I don't know, maybe in Teapot 16 or something. But it's time we move on to Teapot 15. One of the biggest Teapot episodes ever. Who knows, man? Maybe Teapot 16 might come out while I'm making this video. I hope it doesn't, but it might. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to Teapot 15. We are almost done with this video. It's New Year's Day 2025, and Teapot 15 releases as a part of a two-parter kind of BFDI movie thing, combining with BFDIA 17 to make Seasonal Shift, a Battle for Dream Island film. And honestly, this is the best Teapot episode so far. Who knows, man? Teapot 16 might even top it whenever it comes out. But Teapot 16 isn't out yet. When it does, I'm definitely going to cover it, though. It's because I really want to see how good it is. But anyways, back to the episode. Teapot 15, along with BFDIA 17, go over time travel and how one mistake led to some pretty bad issues. See, somehow the rejects get a hold of the whole yoyolite thing that is used for time travel. And they end up teleporting themselves all throughout time, like in the history of Battle for Dream Island. Even the comics, which is insane. Anyway, moving on though. You see, these contestants are able to travel all throughout time with this yoyolite. And the challenge for Teapot 15 is to bring all of these rejects back to the present before the whole space-time continuum gets absolutely wrecked. And this is an amazing challenge, and don't even get me started on the visuals for this episode. This adds a lot to the story of BFDI, and it really just goes to show if these exact moments did not happen in the timeline, then this show would have been drastically different. Think about it. The so-called canon event of Battle for Dream Island was Leafy stealing BFDI. If that did not happen, I don't even know, dude. I don't even, would the other seasons even exist? Would we have gotten BFDIA, IDFB, BFB, or Teapot? Or Battle for Dream Island would have ended in 2012 and would have been a dead series? Who knows? I think it's fun to think about, though. I really do. And along with that, we also get to see one in this episode a lot. we also get alluded to 3 being a big part of the next episode, which is TPOT 16. So that's really cool. See, 3 is a very interesting character that I've wanted to see that I wanted to see in a Battle for Dream Island episode for the longest, and hopefully we get to see him in this new episode. But back to 1. 1 is making a deal with Gady, and by the end of the episode, when the world is about to crumble down and basically break altogether, 1 has to make a deal with Gady. And if Gady doesn't make this deal with 1, then the world will be destroyed and everyone's probably going to die. So, yeah. Gady decides to make the deal with 1 in exchange for her friends' lives. It is an amazing episode with an amazing story. And if I were to talk about it here in its entirety, we'd probably be here all day. So, if you haven't seen the episode yet, go watch it, man. Go watch it. I mean, obviously, like, finish watching this video first, but, like, go watch that episode, dude. It's because it's awesome. And I am sure TPOT 16 is going to be awesome, too. I might make a separate portion of this video or a separate video going over what I think will happen in TPOT 16, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. Now, I want to talk about the BFDI comics for a minute, and then there's another thing that I want to talk about. And then after this, we'll probably segue into the outro of the video, is because we've been here for a while. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and segue into the BFDI comics section, and then I want to talk about, like, the timeline and stuff like that, and how everything kind of connects together. So let's go over that. Also, yeah, by the way, TPOT, that section's over. For now, though. For now. You know, it's not going to be over forever. I want to talk about the BFDI comics. You see, the BFDI comics, they're special. Is because they set up the world for Battle for Dream Island, basically, before it even begins. The character relationships start in this kind of era of the BFDI characters. This is when everyone kind of becomes friends. Is because in BFDI 1A, Take the Plunge, it's already kind of implied that these contestants have, like, established friendships. At least most of them. Some friendships get formed in BFDI Season 1, but most of these guys are probably, like, already well aware of each other by this time frame. So, I think to have a contestant, or not a contestant, but a failed debuter, go all the way back to the comics age and try to mess that up and, like, add himself into it, that would probably break the entire timeline. Similar to someone trying to prevent Leafy from stealing Dream Island. Maybe it was supposed to happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure if Leafy never stole Dream Island, then who knows? Maybe BFDI wouldn't have continued. That's probably why the world started breaking. In fact, I kind of want to get into that. Is because it is a very, very interesting talking point that I want to go over. So let's go ahead and go over that right now. Okay, I'm going to stand up for this one. Let's think about it like this, okay? Let's say Battle for Dream Island was never stolen by anyone. Alright, let's say Fiery allowed Leafy to enter Dream Island. Let's just be hypothetical here and say that that actually happened. Well, my theory is that the rest of Battle for Dream Island would have never even happened. I mean, think about it, bro. The whole reason why we even had another season in the first place, at least, like, in show, you know what I mean? Like, this is like the in show reason is that Leafy stole Dream Island, so there was not really a real end. Fiery didn't get to win, which really I think they should have had Fiery just, I don't know, win BFDIA and just give him the prize since he got his last one stolen. But whatever, right? So yeah, I think the series would have either been drastically different or the rest of the series just wouldn't have existed at all. I mean, let's think about it like this, right? Leafy was butthurt is because she didn't get let into Dream Island, right? Which, I mean, do I blame Leafy? Not really. It's because, let's think about it like this, bro. You know what I mean? You died in Fiery's Ferris wheel is because it had, like, this weird waterfall, which was actually a lava fall, that killed you. So, obviously, you didn't like it. So, Fiery, your best friend, or who you thought was your best friend, doesn't even let you onto the island, bro. You know what I mean? Because you died on his Ferris wheel. That sucks. So, I can understand why Leafy stole Dream Island. But, like, does Leafy still have it? You know what I mean? I always wondered. that? Does Leafy still have Dream Island just in her pocket or something like that, and just she forgot about it? Like, what's up with that? You know what I mean? What's going on with that? And it really does just make me question. You know what I mean? Like, what is really going on with this series? You know what I mean? Like, because these certain events didn't happen, does it directly affect the course of the series? Yes or no? Honestly, I have no idea. Hey, let me know down in the comments. What do you think about this, all right? What do you think about this theory? Am I cooking or am I not cooking, all right? You know what I mean? Or I could just be yapping. Who knows? But yeah, I just kind of wanted to give you guys this theory. A YouTuber by the name of Super Fun Time actually gave a really interesting theory in his video titled, "What if Leafy won Dream Island?" Which, it's kind of plausible, and I kind of want you guys to hear what he has to say. I'm going to leave a link to his video and his channel in the description so you guys can go check out the full video by yourselves. But yeah, roll the clip.
For argument's sake, we'll just pretend that the voting was switched and that Leafy got 406 votes, while Fiery got 236. The initial ramifications would be that Leafy would almost certainly let everybody in, given that she didn't really have any enemies, at least from her point of view. And yes, that includes Fiery, because despite her later actions, I don't see her holding the lava fall against him like he held disliking the Ferris wheel against her, as she wouldn't snap in this timeline. If everyone gets to come into Dream Island, that means nobody steals it. However, the announcer still sells it to someone off-screen, and most of the rest of the events transpire as usual, minus the ones that involve Leafy, since the other contestants know that she wouldn't try to steal the island that she owned. This does, however, mean that BFDIA still happens. The cast for Season 2 would mostly be the same. However, Leafy still being present means that Puffball wouldn't join the game, falling just one vote short of Yellowface. Put a pin in that because it'll be important later. Obviously, Leafy remains on Team No Name, and in BFDIA 2, she still takes some Yoyo Berries to become middle so she can actually touch Fiery without burning up. No Evil Leafy encounter either, since they would likely be able to use Evil Leafy's map to get to Yoyo Land and back. Leafy would win the prize for BFDIA 3, I think, meaning that the host is now Leafy Speaker Box instead of Puffball Speaker Box. This specific bit also has repercussions outside of BFDI because of PSB's guest appearance in Inanimate Insanity 2's 4th episode. Now we move on to BFDIA 5. When you think about it, Leafy not being present may have caused a lot of the lengthiness of this episode. Without her, there may be no Leafy. In fact, BFDIA 5 may not have had multiple parts at all. Puffball being in the game certainly leads to 2/3 of the cast not dying, and then the remaining contestants not having to crank an HP RCC, both events that significantly slowed down all three teams. Obviously, Team No Name would use Leafy's map again to get most of the way there, then they can walk the remainder without much issue. However, Free Smart ends up taking second place because they still have the super van, so Wobunch would be put up for elimination instead. I predict that Coiny would win the prize, while Yellowface would be eliminated. He was bottom 3 the first time Team No Name lost. At this point, not much of note changes aside from the absence of a Fiery Leafy conflict, at least in the form we got it. I could see Blocky survive over Fiery in BFB 24, but that's pretty much it. And before you ask, I don't think a bubble victory would change much, if anything. Maybe a Leafy bubble conflict in BFB similar to the canon Leafy Fiery conflict, but I don't think BFDIA or IDFB would change at all. What if Eggy had been eliminated instead of Loser? Say Loser just gets bottom 2 instead of elimination. First, an arc would probably initiate about Loser being a liar and having to rebuild trust with the other contestants. Since the losers don't lose again for the rest of Pre-Split, this doesn't really change anything important as far as eliminations go. It wouldn't be called the liar ball for the challenge either, since Eggy would be inside of it instead, and she didn't really lie at all. In BFB 8 and 9, they go the same way as they normally would, not because Loser isn't around, but because they're initially reluctant to have to do things for themselves, and they obviously don't want to trust Loser. For the rejoin, Leafy still joins the losers, but Eggy doesn't do nearly as well as Loser did in the vote, instead falling between 8-Ball and Stapy. Also, the thing with Clock not getting recovered would still happen, but differently. Loser would notice Clock was missing and try to point it out, but nobody else would listen except Leafy. She would definitely try to befriend Loser, as she was unaware of the liar situation since she was in the exit when it happened, and wouldn't have been told about it necessarily without him being eliminated. So more stuff would happen, but probably by the end of BFB 14, Loser has been redeemed in some way, so attention can be focused on Fiery and Leafy in the following episode. Now we move on to the elephant in the room, the split. Obviously, Loser would still end up in Post Split BFB, and he still gets eliminated in BFB 21 as he actually does. However, someone would still get to escape the exit, and I'm not referring to Spongy. Despite what countless elimination orders out there say, including some of mine, I doubt that Eggy would be the one to escape the exit. I think it would be Lai. My rationale? She was the one who wanted most to escape. Plus, she was outright originally planned to do so along with Loser and Spongy, then join TPOT, which is what she would do in this alternate timeline. From there, it's pretty obvious she would join the strongest team on Earth. Death Pact again won't have her, I would imagine.
He gives a lot of good theories in this video, and like I said, I'm going to leave a link to it in the description, is because this is a really good video, and his video is actually one of the few videos that I actually see covering, like, this topic of, like, what if, like, these drastic events didn't happen in BFDI. Honestly, like I said, the show would have been drastically different, obviously, but there's probably something else, too. What if, because Leafy never stole Dream, right? What if none of TPOT, BFB, IDFB, or BFDIA, what if that never happened, right? I mean, we see it. Let's see, like, alright, let's say it like this, right? So, Golf Ball's team gets transported all the way back to BFDI 25 when Leafy stole Dream Island, right? Leafy doesn't steal Dream Island when they go back, meaning that the whole world is crumbling. The TPOT world is crumbling, meaning that, what if Leafy was supposed to steal Dream Island in order for the other seasons to occur? I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it's a possibility. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's an insane theory. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's an insane theory. But it could possibly, it could be true. It definitely could be true. But let me know in the comments what you guys think, because I'm really curious to see what you guys think about this theory. Well, that's just about all for this video. Dude, I'm going to be honest with you guys. This video took a long time to make, and I'm glad that I'm finally done working. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed what you just saw today, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. And we're getting pretty close. We only got we have like less than 3K left. So that's awesome. I cannot wait to hit 10K. But yeah, if you enjoy long BFDI documentaries like this one, then subscribe to the channel, is because it would help me out a lot. Also, like the video and comment down below what your thoughts are on all of the theories that I just mentioned, or like pick your favorite theory, I guess, and just give your thoughts on it. Because I'm really curious on what you guys think about most of these BFDI, TPOT, Battlefield, like just all that stuff, all these theories. Like, what do you guys think about it? Anyway, that's all for now. This has been TG signing off. Have a good day and good night.
Have some more chicken, have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried. Have some more chicken, have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried. Have some more chicken, have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried. have some more chicken, have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.